Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you're about to attain true gnosis.
And MythVision. Welcome, everybody. Neil, we wanted to do a hangout and get challenged. And I think it's important to say this, too. Part of being challenged, and you've been digging into philosophy more, you'd be proud of me when I went up to North Carolina to visit my mother-in-law. Guess what I listened to for 9 hours there, 9 hours back? Plato's Meno, Plato's, Euthyphro,
Symposium?
Pythagoras. I didn't get to the symposium yet.
That's the good one.
I've got like 8 different books. And I thought to myself, part of the journey of being challenged is also learning. Clearly, it's not to just defend a position that you hold. It's about being open to hearing ideas that make sense to you as you're going on this path. I think that's important to note when people are, trying to talk about ideas. It's not just defending of you and always trying to debunk someone or always trying to be like right in every single way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another thing about Plato is it can get some of his dialogues can be kind of dry. But it's the basis of all of Western theology, philosophy. Like there's so many ideas in that's like the primordial soup of like our culture is reading is understanding Plato and Aristotle, those ancient Greeks, if you will. Yeah. So
I agree. We plan on having callers. We got some super chats already, but I was going to go ahead and pin this link.
Well, let's talk. I want to talk about Jesus for a couple minutes before we let people in.
Got it.
Well, we're gonna drop the link. I already have some people. Some few people on Twitter who had a few things to say about Jesus, what they think about him. We're gonna try to keep the topic on. What do we think about Jesus? Some people think he wasn't even Jewish. Maybe you want to make an argument for that. Maybe you want to say he was like a zealot, warmonger, like you might argue. Maybe you think he was a stoic or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the preferred call-ins we want to do, and we're trying to get people to debate historicity stuff too, mythicism stuff too. Yeah. But even if you just want to challenge us on anything at all, just keep it. Let's not get too crazy with it. But yeah, you could change the subject up if you want. We're doing one caller at a time. And then obviously super chats we'll skip. We just stop what we're going to do and read them out, which we'll do right now, if you will.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, everybody gets... Yeah, do it. There you go.
All right, Tim, thank you for the 5. Do you think Jesus was a Herodian Messiah, son of Antipater, Raymond Graves? The ancestry in Luke feels like a big smoking gun to me. I don't know. And by the way, thank you for sticking with the topic here. I appreciate those super chats like this.
Yeah, I honestly, to be honest with you, I don't know. Everyone keeps bringing up the Herodian this, Herodian that. And, you do get Paul talking about his kinsman, the Herodian, but what does he mean by kinsman there too? Like, is he talking about genealogical, or is he saying, hey, you're part of the Christ cult that, I'm part of? And therefore he's talking kinsman in a fictive kinship sense that is common in the New Testament. But the genealogy, I do not know.
By the way, real quick on that, the name Herodian is a first name though. So my issue with that argument is we don't know his gens. He's saying my kinsman Herodian.
Yeah.
He could be named Herodian Herod, like fine, but we just don't know what his gens is. It's just his first name. That's a common name. There's a writer right in my library right here named Herodian. He's a total Gentile.
Right.
So it's like that doesn't mean anything. Anyways, go ahead.
No, that's important. And I think, are they talking about Raymond Brown, the Catholic scholar, when they say Raymond plus Graves?
I don't know.
I haven't read Graves. So this is an interesting question. I would need to do further research.
It is interesting. Yeah. And I want to say I'm very sympathetic to this idea because if you look at the political situation in the first century, the Roman Jewish war was just as much of a civil war between the Jews as it was against Rome. Especially if you read Josephus, talk to Steve Mason about this, there was people on the side of the Romans, and they were the Herodians. They were Herod was dead obviously, but his sons who would rule on up until basically the time of the war, and they were on the side of Rome. They were Roman puppets, if you want to use the lack of a better term. They were basically aligned with Rome against the temple Pharisees and Sadducees of the religious order. And even some of the more religious Jews were aligned with Rome. That's what the Talmud talks about this. Yohanan ben Zakkai meeting with Vespasian, making a deal, saying just don't kill these people. We'll give you safe passage over here. That type of stuff. And the Herodians were definitely pro-Roman, and it would make a lot of sense that they would be the patrons of people writing something like the gospel. So I'm sympathetic to the idea. Is there a lot of evidence? No, but I'm sympathetic to it.
Thank you.
So
appreciate the super.
Yeah.
Bakken in the house. Thank you, Bakken, for the super chat. Neil, Derek, did you guys watch the playlist I sent? I haven't had time, I'll be honest with you. And did you email it to me, Bakken? If you get...
I got to check this out. I didn't see the playlist, but I will check it out. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. But yeah, I just didn't check. I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah.
When did you send it? I'll take a look right after this is over. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and
I just missed it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know where I missed that.
Yeah.
They may have messaged me on Facebook. I'm not sure. Let me know. Let me know.
Yeah, it might be it.
I need to check that out.
I'm horrible at checking my Facebook messages, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Tracy Femstar, thank you for the super chat. Idea that Jesus was born of a Roman soldier.
I love this one. Yeah, I love this one. I mean, if I may, you want me to go first?
No, you go.
Okay, I think this is a really fun one. And I don't think there's any way to know, right? For sure. But there's
evidence.
There's evidence that you can make a case.
Yes.
Right? Where they found a Roman soldier. They have his ossuary. It was kind of not his ossuary. It's kind of his ossuary. They have his bones inside of an actual archaeological figure that is a statue of a Roman soldier whose name is literally Pantera, meaning panther. And, for the longest, scholars thought Panthera was a play or pun on Parthenos, which is this idea of birth, the divine birth. So it was a jab at the divine birth of Christ. Well, it was people like James Tabor, who I love so much, that goes off and looks for things that most scholars aren't really trying to look at, or at least reinvestigating stuff, old ideas. And he found the Roman, statue with the name Panther on it, Pantera. And he also put some pieces of the puzzle together that make me think, okay, just grant that Jesus existed. I mean, that's already a question that a lot of people who watch our channels doubt, right? But if you grant this guy's born in Galilee, Josephus talks about there being an uprising in Galilee around the time Herod the Great, Judas the Galilean. There was a serious issue in Galilee right near Sepphoris itself, being destroyed, and all this problems with the people next to Sepphoris being Nazareth. So a Roman soldier being in that area to stomp out what's going on bumps into Mary. And some scholars think there was a lot of, I can't say the word on YouTube without them dinging us, forcing themselves upon someone, where soldiers would force themselves upon the locals. Or maybe they fell in love, and you can make a love story out of it, that this Roman soldier and this young Jewish woman have a child. And it would make sense if you take some of the internal logic, where the Jews accuse in John's gospel against Jesus, we were not born in, I think they say fornication. Mm-hmm. So there's like a jab at Jesus's birth in the gospels. Interesting. And
so for me, the evidence is that is strong for me is Celsus. Celsus is one of the first Roman sources who actually does legitimate research into what Christianity is. Like Tacitus doesn't really know much about it. He barely mentions it. Spells the name wrong of Christus. Suetonius doesn't a few lines here and there. Nothing. They're not studying this stuff. They're not investigating it. Pliny the Younger, he comes across a group of Christians in one area, Bithynia, but he still doesn't know much about them. Gives us a few details. Celsus, in the middle of the 2nd century, so very early on, and according to Origen, he wrote during the time of Hadrian. So we're talking early. 130s.
Yeah.
Okay, so first half of the 2nd century. Right, not long after Tacitus and Suetonius, you have an actual scholar doing research on what Christianity is, and he found out from the Jews that he talked to. He even says this. He cites the Jewish sources. He says, who say that he was born of a Roman soldier named Pantera. And he says, he's not born of a virgin. They all know who his father was. It was this Roman soldier named Pantera. To me, that's a strong case.
And
now, that still makes him Jewish, though.
Yeah,
because
of course.
in Judaism, it's your mother that makes you Jewish, not your father.
Yeah, but either way, that whole question is just a strange conspiracy theory to me that we might engage if someone comes on and they're decent in having a conversation. But what's interesting is your point. Scholars point out Kelsis, this guy's smart. He is actually getting a lot of his sources from Jews who are actually knowledgeable on what's going on in the region. And it's funny that the accusation ends up in John. Is this a clue that John is 2nd century, and this debate by Jews and in the mouth of Kelsis hints at this dispute over the birth of Jesus in this time period? I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. But the one more thing I would say is interesting about this hypothesis is the genealogy in Matthew has Jesus have 4 grandmothers, through the genealogical line that committed sexual immorality. So in that genealogical pool, there are 4 women in that line that are explicitly said to have committed sexual immorality throughout history in the genealogy. And then sure enough, Mary comes on the scene. And what is the accusation? I know that Christians believe that the text face value. You and I approach it going, often legend hides something or is embellishing. So whether there's a memory or not. But if you take it not at face value, like you wouldn't do with Suetonius' birth of Augustus, and you might go, what really happened? Maybe the accusations that, hey, Mary, you slept with someone else and Joseph is trying to cover for you, or you might be stoned to death. So this young girl who ends up getting pregnant by a Roman soldier, hypothetically, ends up marrying an older man, Joseph, and it covers up the problem. And then later they have a legend. I don't know what the answer is. It's a fun one.
Yeah. Let me just read this passage out real quick from Contra Chalcedon. That's where we get the fragment from, but it's from an original Chalcedon source. Let us imagine what a Jew might put to Jesus. Is it not true, good sir? And he's quoting this Jew. Is it not true, good sir, that you fabricated the story of your birth from a virgin to quiet rumors about the true and unsavory circumstances of your origins? Is it not the case that when her deceit was discovered, to wit, that she was pregnant by a Roman soldier named Pantera, she was driven away by her husband, the carpenter, and convicted of adultery? And that's funny because that might answer why Jesus is so lax on adultery.
Yeah, he's defensive of the woman who's caught in adultery, right? And there's actually, I think Dennis MacDonald, I may be missing which scholar, who thinks the woman that was caught in adultery that's being accused is actually a reflection of his own mother.
Might be.
So who knows?
And one more thing before we go to the next one. I love this topic, by the way. Hopefully people call in about this. The idea that this is a play on Parthenos, that comes from scholars way later in German and English, not Greek. There's no Byzantine early Christian church fathers that are saying this. It actually doesn't make sense that you would think Parthenos and Pantera. Where's the rho? The letter R. It's not there. So it doesn't actually even fit. And Tabor did a good job debunking that. Yeah. Because Bart Ehrman was one of the big ones who was like, oh, this is just a play on the word Parthenos. Tabor was like, no, actually, no one made this. No scholars have ever brought this up until the 17th, 18th century. Yeah. So that idea it sounds like apologetics to me. People just don't like this.
I love Tabor for that. I mean,
yeah,
he's always doing something cool that I'm like, oh, Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Archetype theory. Thank you for the 2. I'm archetype theory from X. Okay. Well,
awesome.
Appreciate. Is this the one that this might be the person I was talking to that says they're going to jump in. We will put on the link just shortly after we get to these super chats. Yep. And then I want to hear Derek's thoughts on who Jesus is. I'll give you mine and then we'll throw the link up there.
Yeah. So, stick around.
First come, first serve. So,
and
Victor Engelman, thank you for the 2. Hurrian war god Hashui, in my opinion, cognate with Yeshua. That is interesting. I don't think so. In my opinion, look, I'm not the expert here in linguistics, but I do know that Yeshua means Yahweh's salvation in Hebrew. Hurrian is not a Semitic language. It's not Indo-European either, but it's a local northwestern, Near Eastern language. So it's like they have there's a lot of borrowing from the Hittites over there. I don't think that they're it could maybe I could be wrong. I could just not be looking at this right. Maybe they are borrowing the word from Semitic languages. I don't know, but I will say I'm pretty confident here in my own studies that Yeshua is fully Semitic Hebrew. It means Yahweh's salvation. So
interesting. Thank you.
But
Victor.
I'll look into that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thought on Fire 222. Thank you for the 2. A lot of 2s today. I like that. Was Jesus mentally ill with a Messiah complex?
Good question.
This is a great question.
It depends on if much of the sayings we get do go back to the guy, you know?
Yeah, like I can't sit there and say, I can't go back 2,000 years and do I'm not a psychiatrist that I can find out if he's mentally ill. However, was there a lot of people in the first century that had Messiah complexes? Yeah.
Yes.
Quite a few people that we know from the sources, from Josephus, from other sources. We talk, Simon of Perea, Judas of Galilee, and there's a few other figures. Theudas, there's the Egyptian figure. There's quite a few figures from this period who people thought that, even Bar Kokhba was Messiah, thought he was a Messiah. So,
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I think he was. Look, I think, and I cannot prove it, and that's the fun part about the challenge. That's the fun part about the whole mental exercise. Can't prove he existed. I think the evidence lends to there having been a Jewish guy who died. What one hell of a story. But I do think that if there was a guy, he absolutely, if he himself didn't have it, he portrayed it, even if he didn't call himself the Messiah. His followers clearly did. And we have so many examples of people like Sabbatai Zevi. We had modern rabbis who died that they believe was the Messiah, who they believe is alive still, even though their bodies are in graves. There's a lot of really interesting cult figures that you could see that have that kind of complex. And it wouldn't shock me if he had a Messiah, and I mean in the Jewish term Messiah. I'm not talking about the reinterpretation necessarily term of what we think of in Christian theology. I'm talking this guy may have been trying to actually have God come in and save Israel, rescue Israel from being controlled by Rome and all those who are collaborating with Rome and stuff. That's going to get into some of my recent inspirations, Neil, of what I'm thinking about when it comes to Jesus, and it'll be a fun thing we'll get into before we bring people on. But yeah, thank you, Thought.
Yeah, good question though. Thank you, Eddie Moretti. Thank you for the 20. Thank you very much for that super chat. Really appreciate that. Guys, if we go with the Hellenistic dating of the Torah, how does it recontextualize the Dead Sea Scrolls? Doesn't the shock of appearance of the Torah almost stimulate the writing of the scrolls? Well, the Dead Sea Scrolls, to me, and the Gomer can talk about this too, is actually, I think, a test to the Hellenistic, because it's like you have this, there's nothing, like we have papyri. People think like papyri doesn't exist before the Hellenistic period or something. We have tons of Egyptian papyri. We have tons of even Judean, Aramaic scrolls from papyri from way before the 500s and 400s BC. Nothing about the Torah. So it's like the fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls only goes back to 200 BC, roughly. The oldest one, I think, is like 200. I think some people try to date it to 250 at the most. I think that's ridiculous. But who knows? They could be right. But still, none of them go beyond what what the evidence says in the primary sources, the citations of it. There is no Dead Sea Scroll. There is no. So I don't know if it. Does that make sense? Like, to stimulate the writing of the scrolls. No, I just think it attests to it. Like the evidence lines up exactly where we think it would be, right?
Yeah, so I'm having a hard time wrapping around exactly the meaning of this question now that I've reread it a couple times. Hellenistic dating of the Torah, how does it recontextualize the Dead Sea Scrolls? Does the shock of appearance of the Torah almost stimulate the writing of the scrolls? So
yeah, the first question, it doesn't. It attests to it. The second question, I'm a little confused on what you mean by the shock of appearance of the Torah stimulate the writing of the Dead Sea Scroll. I don't know. I'm not sure. I really don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I could just be dumb.
I think that there was a continuous, if you go further back, tradition of writing sacred literature. I think that there is traditions we find within this material that go further back. But I think what ultimately people misunderstand about me and what Neil are doing is we're saying we're not sure if some of these things do stretch back, we don't have the evidence for them that we can prove, right?
Right.
We're
if there was a
also
Dead Sea
not,
Scroll that dated to 500 BC, I
Right.
would go, oh, the Torah
500
started
BC.
being written at 500 BC. We'd have evidence for it.
You're just more cautious in saying what we know we have, and then you're skeptical of going backwards before that and using internal historiographical kind of like circular reasoning to try and justify an earlier date when couldn't someone have written that down maybe later?
Sure.
And reflecting older ideas, these kind of things. So
because you can have a text be older and we just don't have any physical copies of it. That's fine. I'm not saying that we have to have a physical copy of it, but we don't have anything that attests to its existence. There's not some other primary source that cites the Bible, for example.
Right.
That's a problem for me.
Yeah.
That tells me it just the way the evidence sits, it just doesn't look like the Bible existed before around 400 BC. I kind of push it back a little more than Gemerkin because I give it a little room for, give it some space. I'm not trying to be so like, oh, this is the first time it's mentioned. Hecates of Abdera. Like, no, like give things some time to show up in the sources a little bit. I say 400. Nothing before 400.
Yeah. So I want to take a jab at the second part of the question, just thanking them for the super chat too.
Yeah.
Doesn't the shock of the Torah almost stimulate the writings of the scrolls? I can't speak on, I'm not an expert at all on any of this material. And I've read many experts, and I think this is important to emphasize. There are scholars who do notice that in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have a break, an alternative, I'll call it an alternative Torah. It's one Enoch. This tradition that develops that you see simultaneously along with the Mosaic Torah is that Enochian tradition, and they are at odds. The Enochian tradition, the hero, the main protagonist is Enoch, whereas in the Mosaic tradition, it's Moses. And there are Jewish, I'll call them sectarian wars. They're literally hate each other kind of groups.
Enoch even uses Egyptian style calendars when it does.
Right.
There's a whole calendar section in Enoch. You know that, right? There's a whole and it's solar. So it's going against the lunar, the Mosaic lunar stuff.
Yep.
So there is I'm agreeing with you. There's a lot of different stuff happening in the Enochian side.
And it has 5 books. So I mean, obviously that's a development, but mind you, it has 5 books. There are 5 books to the Torah. There is a competitive
it's like an anti-Torah. It's
exactly.
An anti-Torah.
And it's Jewish, surely.
By the way, I'm not skipping those ones, but since it's the same person, he dropped another 20.
Thank
you very much. You didn't have to do. I was actually looking in the comments for him to say something different because I wanted to see if he can clarify.
Yeah.
But let's read it. I asked the question about late dating Torah because it makes the phenomenon of this first century messianism more plausible. The appearance of the Torah with so many laws, it was a shock, and a response was messianism to reform the laws. That makes a lot of sense because as Jonathan Adler points out, it's not till the Maccabean period that they started enforcing these laws. Right. So we're already in the halfway through the 2nd century when people are starting to live this way.
Yeah.
So then you start getting messianic movements happening right after that.
Especially once it's popularized. Once you have a political system utilizing these laws, and it's not a few guys in a corner that are just nerding out and scribbling stuff on a paper, on educated people, obviously, but nonetheless not popular. If you grant, that this goes back a few centuries prior to the Maccabees and whatnot, which I do. Once you get this known, it becomes a well-established thing that common folks are practicing. Imagine the virality of messianism that comes out of this. And when you look carefully, and I know there's a lot of literature on this, but you go look at the dumb move that Wes Huff made, for example, on the Great Isaiah Scroll. When you watch the changes between it and the Masoretic text, which he's word for word, and guess what? Joe Rogan's still spewing the same thing to this day. If you look at the original 1QA and you look at the Great Isaiah Scroll, you'll notice it uses terms that are very eschatological that they still retain, whereas the later Masoretic text by the Masoretes, they're erasing that apocalyptic fervor that you find in this earlier material. And I find that interesting. That when this material,
there's definitely reforms happening.
Yes. Yeah.
And we think of 150, like we look at the Maccabee period, and a lot of times, like I do this, I'm guilty of this too, is I'll think in my head, oh, it's right before the time of Jesus. Oh, like 150 years is nothing. No, that's a long time. there can be a lot of reforms, a lot of sectarian struggles in between 150 and the time of Jesus. Like that's like, it's the same distance of us and Civil War. So like we're talking, that's a long time for a lot of cultural developments to happen.
For sure.
So
thank you again, Eddie. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Appreciate that. Let's see what the next one is. Gretchen Boots. Thank you for the $2. Defeats the story of JC Bing from David's line. No. Being from David's line.
If you go back,
this is interesting.
They're talking about the Pantera.
Yes.
Thing. Yeah.
Because the genealogies are through Joseph.
Right.
They contradict each other, and this is why some apologists will say one's Mary, one's Joseph. They don't say that. No. They both say Joseph. They both say son of, or father of. They're both using the patriarchal line. They're ignoring Mary. So, and then people go, well, he was born of a virgin anyway, so who cares about that stuff? And that's like, then the whole thing just nonsense. But this is true because he's not Davidic anymore. Unless Mary's Davidic. Some people try to make that argument.
Right.
I don't know how you can do that. I mean, she is Jewish. Like the early Christian sources all basically attest to her, being in the synagogue and going to temple and getting married to Joseph at age 12. Like she was a virgin and she was betrothed to Joseph at 12. That's in the apocryphal sources. So she's Jewish. I don't know if it ever describes what line she's from. She might be Davidic, but I think they're mostly using this as an adoption anyway. So he's from the Davidic line regardless because he's adopted through Joseph. I think that's how they look at it. So I don't think it's not really a problem for them, people who look at it that way. But some people might see it as a problem.
Well, the other commonly attributed explanation is that the legend's a legend. The birth narrative is a birth narrative. It's a legend. And that Joseph is actually the father. And so in reality, he is the dad. And therefore, according to the genealogy, would still line up because Joseph really is the dad. It's contradiction to the narrative, of course, but the narrative is legend. And so I've had several.
And so is the genealogies, though.
Yeah,
I don't think the genealogies are true. There is no evidence of anyone, not just Jews, even like I guess the Romans have genealogies of Caesar going back to Venus, but those are mostly like fabricated too. Like there is no, you can't like find a scroll that's like 10,000
My daddy
pages.
is Mars.
Yeah, like there's no, this is all just kind of, people are just doing this stuff in this time period.
I love it though. It's still fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gretchens.
Stefan Bayer. Thank you for the dub. People are dropping dubs on us today.
Dubskis. Thank you.
Read some of my posts if you have time. Start with the early questions. If you have time, I start with better ones.
Stefan Bayer.
Read some of my posts. All right. Well, since you gave me $20, I guess I'll have to.
Where's the post?
I'll have to go check out your post. Is there a link or something?
I don't know. Is it on your side or my side? Because that's the other thing.
I don't know.
I'm scrolling up.
It looks like it's on your side.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm scrolling down, dude. I wanted to go to the very top to make sure I didn't miss it. Oh, there. Rabbi Jehoshua and Eleazar and their dispute. You want me to pull them up and then we can just go through a few of them real quick here since they super chatted?
Sure.
All right, here. So Rabbi Jehoshua and Eleazar and their dispute came before or after Jesus and Lazarus. Rabbi Joshua
and their dispute came before or after Jesus. I don't know which Rabbi Yehoshua you're talking about.
Eleazar, meaning did people post 70 AD use typology or did history repeat itself symbolically? If history repeats, equal God. Obviously, I think they use typology or some form of repeat writing is what typology is of earlier scripture. But the first part, I'm not really sure who the exact example is here, but I do know they repeat. Go back to the Qumran, sects, you'll see they're writing stuff, repeating scripture, Moses, whatever.
I think this is some Talmud story because
interesting.
The Rabbi Yeshua, that title of rabbi is mostly a Talmudic post 70 thing.
Got it. You
don't really get rabbi, like even Jesus is called rabbi, but a lot of scholars point out like that just means like teacher.
Okay.
Like he's not like Rabbi Jesus. That's a title that you find later.
And
so
even if history,
my guess is that this is a story in the Talmud about Jehoshua and Israel. I'm not familiar with it, so it's something that I can't really answer. But it sounds like if they did do some typology, that'd be pretty fascinating. I would definitely cover on this channel.
Yeah, they said if history repeats equals God, not necessarily.
Well, check this out: the Charlie Kirk thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie where a guy got assassinated whose name was Charles Kirkland, and then there's like a whole conspiracy involved, and Israel's mentioned, and all this weird things do happen in the world, and it makes you it's odd sometimes. These weird coincidences do happen. Sometimes things do repeat itself, and that's just the way the world is. There's a finite names out there. There's a finite number of possibility. Like things do repeat itself.
Yeah, and it's going to. I mean, we have patterns. Things are going to overlap at some point, especially when your tradition is imitating it. It's intentionally imitating it through literatures and through how you live your life, how you speak. All of that is used on your scripture based on your literature. They said how much of the Bible is written after Josephus wrote Antiquities, meaning Old Testament Joseph typology and Joshua typology in Old Testament. If they're talking about Old Testament material, there is a constant. It's not solid. It's still fluid into the Common Era. The Old Testament materials is not solid. It's not
Luke
in stone.
Acts is definitely borrowing from Josephus.
I was going to say,
check out your video with Steve Mason on that.
Yeah,
I think really makes the case. He really just makes it so obvious. How like he's constantly mentioning like places that are mentioned in Josephus with conjunction with characters that are mentioned in Josephus, the sequence of events lining up, all that stuff.
Yeah. John is post 70. Second Peter, the pastoral letters seem to be post 70. If you go with the consensus argument, look, you can get a little. Listen, I'm going to throw a little bit of curveball. I was going to say, like, there are some scholars who
think the whole thing is after 70.
Everything's after 70. Obviously,
you know what's crazy about that? That makes, if that's true, if I'm not saying that they're right, like whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say who's right or wrong. But if they're right, if Nina and Jack Bull and them are right, that this is all post 70, Christianity all of a sudden makes way more sense.
It's easier to make sense of a lot of things.
It becomes a replacement of Judaism at that point. Judaism's gone. I'm talking about temple Judaism. Yeah. Now we need something different. Well, let's chill out on the laws. Let's do something. Like it makes more sense from a cultural point of view. Why Christianity would start after 70. Right?
Yeah, I'll grab the book just to show her some love. If you're interested in checking out her book,
absolutely.
She ultimately argues that a category of epistolary fictions, she compares the letters of Paul to other epistolary fictions, and she's convinced she says
it looks like second sophistic Greek,
right,
which is Greek that you would find like Lucian's Greek in 2nd century AD.
It's very interesting.
And she's a Pauline scholar. It's not like she's some random, what do you call it? What's his name? Graham Hancock, just some random person who doesn't study this stuff, just wrote a book. No, this is peer-reviewed through Oxford, and she's not only that, she's not just some random New Testament scholar. She's a professor of Pauline.
She's an emeritus too.
So we're talking about someone who actually knows what she's talking about. We should listen to this. I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, very, very awesome friend of ours too. Stefan, last one, says how many of the sources cited in Against Appian actually were real and not made up sources invented by the Roman imperial cult? I have never investigated that.
I think Against Appian is it's Josephus, but I think that is the one. Oh no, that's not the one. I'm thinking of another one. There was one that wasn't actually written by Josephus. This one is legitimate. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. But that's like I said, a little above my pay grade, I guess. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, though.
All right. Next one is Salty Crab Guy, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, why no pushback on Reza on MythVision? Good question. So I interviewed Reza Aslan, and I think that's how you pronounce it, Reza Aslan, who actually hypothesized that Jesus was a zealot. And in this conversation, he pretty much sees mythicism as ridiculous. And he makes that comment on the channel for two reasons. When I go into these interviews with some of these scholars, I have a very strict time limit. I have 90 minutes. The last thing I cared to do in this episode was get bogged down on a mythicism question when I'm literally trying to extract the ideas and popularize them, which, by the way, the video did really good, Neil. I don't know if you noticed. It had like 26,000 views in a day or something, which is really good. I think it was something like that. And the goal was to get as many people acquainted with a radical insurgent type Jesus, a militant Jesus. And if we get stopped on pressing on mythicism in that episode, we'll get nowhere. I really would love to see that spark some conversation and debate between the actual people who hold the mythicism and Reza, meaning we could get a debate happening maybe with Richard Carrier and him, if he would do it. But I don't bog myself down on it. I'm not an apologist for mythicism. I'm not an apologist for historicism. I don't care. If the scholar thinks it's ridiculous, I let the scholar say what they want. We move forward. My goal was not to dwell on mythicism in that episode, just to make it clear. However, I would have loved if he'd have said, hey, Derek, I have 3 hours for you. I'd be like, hold on. Now, let me give you a few pushbacks and get your thoughts about it and, go from there. But that's why. I really appreciate the super chat, Salty.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, Mr. Morpheus in the house. Thank you so much, Morpheus. Talk about the origins hexapla, please. Do you know
Talk about the what?
The origins hexapla?
Origins hexapla. Oh, that I haven't read yet. Or Origins hexapla.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I ever read that text by Origin.
Yeah.
I'm just looking it up to see if there's a different name for that text. Yeah, and that's one of them I've never read. So it's the critical edition of the Hebrew Bible. Is that what it is? Okay. Oh no, that's what it is. Okay, it's not Origin. I'm not duh. It's just it's a critical edition of the Hebrew Bible. 4 of them translated into Greek, preserved only in fragments. It's an immense and complex word-for-word comparison of the original Hebrew with the Greek Septuagint. Oh, that's something I definitely should be looking through.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like I learned more from you guys. Like shit.
Oh, we have always some really.
Yeah, I don't have this. I don't have this. I hope maybe I can find one online that I can go through sometime. But that sounds like something I definitely should have. I'm sure Steven knows all about this.
Yeah.
Steven's obsessed with textual. Yeah.
Let me tell you the history of the Samaritan Pentateuch and why it's informative of the Hebrew and why the Septuagint. And it's like, damn, I'm glad we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. Thank you so much, Morpheus. I don't know enough about it, and it would be ill. I'd give you bad service here to even act like I know anything about it. I really don't. Okay, the next one, because we already got the Eddie, that super chat. Vidar, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate the support. Really do. The next one is Eddie again. You guys are the best. You made my day. If you do another live call-in, I'll dial in to dig deeper into my theory of late dating and theological shock. Interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Can you go back to that? Oh, yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate you dropping so many super chats on us right now. Sure. You didn't have to do that. But if I made your day, then that's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely.
That.
Yeah, Eddie, thanks for helping support what we're doing, and we will keep doing it. And again, when we have a live stream where we do a call-in that maybe deals with dating the Old Testament or like hearing different people come on, that would make sense. Today's more about Jesus, and we're just focusing on that topic. And if we grant that topic, then it opens a door and there's no structure. We try to keep structure on this. But yes, we would love to see you come on for that and discuss it. Thought on Fire 222. Thank you for the super chat. Socrates plus Plato equals the secret plot.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you especially if you, in the Republic, for example, Plato, through the mouth of Socrates, discusses the noble lie and how to run a republic with secret agents everywhere and, controlling everything, controlling the history, controlling the laws. So interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you so much for the super chat. Dan Dave RC, thank you for the super chat. How do Christians explain that Jesus never claimed to be born of a virgin, but somehow people 50 years later knew that? It is clearly made up. And then Quran also copies it, disproving both Christianity, Islam. You want to comment on that, or you want me to go ahead?
Never claimed to be born of a virgin, but somehow 50. Yeah, it's a really good question. He doesn't. I mean, but that's the thing. The people who wrote the Gospels the ones who are saying he's born of a virgin,
right?
And they're also the one reporting on what he said. So we're kind of it's kind of an issue. Like, how can we even criticize it? Because they're the ones writing it. It's clear they made up that, and the Quran also copies it, disproving both. Yeah, the Quran seems to know more about the Lucan tradition, because it has like the birth of Jesus, and then maybe I think there's a Gnostic, what is it called?
The clay birds.
What is it called?
Infancy,
yes, because
Thomas.
Jesus is like talking and stuff at his birth.
Yeah.
So it's aware of some of these early traditions of Jesus being like a child.
It's legend. I mean, it's legend. So if your form of Christianity demands a actual virgin birth, literally, and all that, okay, it's your faith, and I'm not like, I'm looking at this from a historical critical lens. I'm doing it to Suetonius with Augustus. I'm doing it to,
but I will say this though, Dan, Paul doesn't mention a virgin birth. And if we're going to go with the consensus that there's 7 authentic letters of Paul that are written before the Gospels, you would think that would be something you might want to mention. There's a lot of things Paul doesn't mention that are just found out later in the Gospel. Paul never mentions Joseph, for example.
But
Mark doesn't even mention Joseph.
It's still 20 years later, though, Neil. That's the problem. Even Paul's letters are still decades.
I think the first one's dated in the 40s. I think
maybe mid 40s. So 15 to 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
Like a decade, 2 decades.
Yeah, that's quite some time, man.
You're right. That's a chunk of that's a little bit of time gone by. You're
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you do with that, right? But yeah, no, thank you so much, Dan. Great question, and love the topic. Grandpa of 10, $4.99. Thank you for the super sticker.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Dan Dave's back again with another 5. Appreciate that. Can Isaiah 53 not be applied to any Jewish Messiah claimant? Example, Bar Kokhba, who was killed by Romans. There were so many of them killed by Romans. Yeah. I don't, this is actually a really good question, because I haven't investigated the whole Akiva, or Kiba, however you pronounce that, Akaba, however you pronounce that Jewish guy who thought that Bar Kokhba was the Messiah. He was so important in the Jewish tradition post-Hadrian that today, I mean, this guy is cherished, right, in Jewish circles. So you got to ask yourself, did they apply Isaiah 53 to him in any way? I'm curious.
And why not? And I mean, the tradition comes from the Second Temple, or the First Temple period, where the anointed kings, their anointed ones, are literally being like massacred by the Assyrians, the Hittites, the Egyptians. You have King Josiah, one of the greatest kings of their tradition, who enacted these great reforms and really stuck to the word of God and Moses and the tradition according to the text. Well, he gets pierced. That's how he dies. He gets pierced. And a lot of people have pointed out, it looks like Isaiah is writing about this piercing. And then it becomes, so you have a tradition of the Jews being, under attack and conquered and beaten and whipped and pierced. And so, yeah, you can almost see why they're going to apply it to failed messiahs. Yeah.
And anyone pierced. From that point forward, anyone that they thought of as someone cherished, messianic in their view, whatever their particular Jewish slant on interpreting that is, I could see Isaiah 53 becoming a forever thing for prophecy. It wouldn't shock me if a leader today, that many people were devout religious people, something happens to them, they go, it's prophecy. We will also be wounded like him, right? So they might still give it to Jesus, but then let him borrow some of it. You know what I'm saying?
And when you write things like he's surrounded by dogs, a pack of dogs surround me, lions surround me, you're being vague. You're not saying, because in that time period, in the 7th century BCE, you would know who the lions are: the lion of Babylon, the lion of Assyria, the lion of the Egyptians, the lion of the Hittites. Like, these are lions that are surrounding us. We're just a little baby lamb surrounded by all these lions. That makes sense. But as centuries go by, and you're in a whole new culture, Roman culture, Greek culture, What is the lion? Well, maybe now it's the Greeks. Maybe now it's the Romans. Maybe it's so you can see the way the written vagueness makes it applicable to anything.
It's Nostradamus, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a bird will fly into a tree. Whoa, it's 9/11.
That has to be. Yeah. Yeah. No, but Dan, that's a great question. I actually want to dive deeper into this, and thank you for the idea, because I want to see how they treated Bar Kokhba, and how they did think he was the Messiah, but most of his followers were in the temple that died with him. So the movement of his particular messianic movement went extinct when he went extinct. Whereas, according to the Gospels, Jesus doesn't, it's not in the same situation. Many of them flee and escape. And so the movement could continue to live in light of that scenario. Does Sonics, thank you so much for the super chat. Can you guys explain Philippians 2:5-11 in our SV in general? Is it an argument in favor of historicity or in favor of mythicism in the form of midrash? This is a good question.
Oh, that's Philippians. That's about Jesus coming down as and becoming a man. So this is here. I can pull it up. Actually, you got it.
If you can, because I'm on this laptop and my computer's not acting right, which is why I have to use the laptop here. And if you don't,
let's read it. Let's read it.
And here get the NRSV version.
2:5-11. It has to be. Does it have to be an NRSV?
They requested NRSV, but you don't. I mean,
NRSV.
It might be worth it.
Is this it right here? NRSV?
Yes. There's various versions, but whatever.
Okay. Oh, I gotta go through here. NRSV.
Scroll down. NRSV. There.
Okay.
Okay.
Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who that he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? Did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave, being born in the human likeness, and being found in human form. He humbled himself. He became obedient to the point of death, even on a cross. Therefore, God highly exalted him, gave him the name that is above every name, so that the name Jesus, every knee should bend, and heaven and on earth and under earth, every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, the glory of the Lord. Okay. You and I have talked about this so much, about when we look at these early Christian doctrines, Basilidean doctrine, Corinthus' doctrine, even like someone like Simon Magus, or the Carpocratian doctrine, Valentinian doctrine. I know these are all good called Gnostics, but one of the things I find kind of common in these sources is they kind of all believe that Jesus was a human, or some of them are Docetists, but we'll put that aside for now. Was a human who got adopted by God through the baptism. So the Holy Spirit is a totally different character. The Holy Spirit, who's the Logos that's in John, the Logos is there in the beginning. Because if you read John 1, actually, let me pull up John 1.
Yeah.
If you read John 1, this is the perfect way to sort of to show what a lot of these, not, because this is, Valentinians were Johannine Christians, and so were the Carpocratian. So were the Basilideans. When Basilides is quotes. When he's quoted by the heresiologists, he's constantly citing John. And John you have a Logos in the beginning with God. It's a dyad. It doesn't say that Jesus was in the beginning. It says the Logos was in the beginning. And then if you keep going through John 1, what happens, the first thing that happens, there's no birth narrative.
Adoptionist.
There's zero virgin birth in John. What happens in John is it just skips ahead to Jesus being 30 years old, getting baptized by John. And then what happens? It says, where is it? Where's the scene where he gets baptized? Let me see.
The next day, Jesus was coming towards, go up, first to step above the Lamb of God.
Yes. Here is the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. This is he who am I saying, after me comes a man who ranks, I myself did not know him, but I came baptizing with water, that he might be revealed to Israel. And John testified, I saw the Spirit, listen to this, this is so important. I saw the pneuma descending down from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him. So notice that. He becomes the Son of God through this. It says, I myself did not know him. he who and then baptized with water. He on whom you see the Spirit descend and remain is the one who baptizes with pneuma.
Right.
And I myself have seen and testified that this is the Son of God. He becomes the Son of God after he's baptized. So that explains what's happening. And this is what I think Paul is talking about. If we go back to Philippians, he's saying that he became exalted, and he became the Spirit came down into the human. Right. That's what I think's going on. That's how I explain it.
There's that. And then there is, I don't want to get caught up in straw manning James Tabor's view, where he thinks this has something to do with Adamic theology, that the first man thought it was, because if you go a few verses prior to the block that we were given, verses 4, 3, 2, and 1, it talks about Adam, who thought he could reach out and attain, equal with God, which we know, if you eat, your eyes will be open, you'll become like God, right? Knowing good and evil. So he believes that you got to look at Adam to kind of understand what's going on in Philippians 2. Either way you slice it, the question is relevant to historicity or mythicism. So however you want to understand that, I do think when you read that Philippians passage, you get a good hint at someone in a body. Someone seems to actually take on human form. And for me, I am not, the way I put it, and I don't want to dwell on this too long unless you feel like it, Neil.
No,
I get
my side.
I'm being critical here, okay? I do not find a ton of evidence of human-formed people who are in the form of human roaming around in the third heaven often. I'm not saying there isn't evidence. Like, you can find certain texts that may indicate they're up there below the moon in the third heaven. I am much more leaning in the idea that this guy is just a guy on Earth. Here he is in the form of a human, like Adam, also on Earth, in that way. And that does seem to at least count towards historicity in my view.
Yeah. Good. Well said.
So I think it's a good question.
No, it's a great question. Does it argue in favor of historicity? I mean, you can make a case that this is basically saying, oh, this Spirit came down to us, but that almost falls into a Docetist line of thinking, because Paul isn't saying he wasn't here or it's all made up. He's saying God came and lived among us. So he's saying these things actually historically happened. So that's more of a Docetist than a mythicist view, in my opinion. So anyways.
Interesting. Yeah, it's adoptionist, the sounding, at least
it's either adoptionist or Docetist is what I'm saying.
It supports, this idea.
It's one or the other.
Thank you, Disonics. Crash Meta Religion, thank you, 1996, for the super chat. I have to ask, based on what you both know, do you guys believe the Gnostic Gospels portrayal of Jesus is closer to what the historical person was actually like, or the canonical Gospels?
Obviously depends on which gospel we're talking about, because you can get pretty meta with like the Apocalypse of John, or I'm sorry, not the Apocalypse of John, what's the one with the Apocryphal John, I think it's called. Anyways, the one story where it gets into all the archons and Sophia and all that stuff. Yeah. That doesn't really speak to any historicity or anything. But like the sayings gospels, like Thomas, well then this is just sayings. We're not really given much. This could be historically what Jesus was saying. I'm not opposed to that. It's hard to know though. It really is.
I tend to think the canonicals at least reflect a more closer to what a historical Jesus would have looked like. Because for me, I'm looking at it and I just see a bunch of problems in these texts that make me think, oh, okay, hold on. Why would they change these things? They're changing them as they go. And they're using the prior gospel in order to rewrite their own. And there are things
it's important to note when you say something like that, the Gnostic Gospels are not the first. Like, you have Gnostic doctrines reflected in first century. Corinthus, for example, Simon Magus, Basilides.
And they're using the Gospels. We call them canonical.
They're using the canonical
exactly.
Gospels. The Gnostic texts are later. And so a lot of times people conflate the two, and they'll think like Basilides was like reading these 4th century, 3rd century Coptic stuff. No. But it is. Some of them do go back. Some of them actually might be.
Yeah.
Like Thomas might actually be a late first century text. Some people think.
I like this because, many of these heretics, excuse me, hold on. Excuse me. Whew. I had a pollen just hit me there. It might have been the pneuma. I don't know. Many of these heretics, I put in scare quotes, like you said, were reading some form of what we would call John, what we would call Mark, what we would call these gospels. But the other problem is those non-heretics like Justin Martyr, when you go and dissect their writings, they mention details about Jesus that are only in non-canonical texts. So they not only had canonical material, they were using what wasn't canonical and believing this about their guy. And so I love getting into the scholars who notice things in the patristics that indicate, hey, he has all sorts of material, and it isn't what you find in your 27 New Testament books. It is a lot of other stuff floating around that these fathers are actually touching on. But again, for me, I don't think we can ever prove any of this stuff that I'm actually going to tell you. I just think that there's a good chance that the whole reinterpretation, even in the earliest gospel of Jesus, has enough in Mark that thou doth protest too much. They've left too much in there, in my opinion, that if this is a memory that goes back, you can see that it's kind of scandalous what's left for us to look at Jesus. And I'm talking about the two views mainly, the apocalyptic Jesus who was nonviolent, Bart Ehrman, Del Allison, others, and the one that was violent, Reza Aslan. You can go to SGF Brandon. You can go all the way back to Reimarus. More recently, there's a scholar, Fernando, and I can't pronounce his name properly without butchering it. He's the latest, greatest with the strongest methodology that's incorporating this stuff. And this kind of gets into my view of Jesus. We were actually going to discuss a little bit on the stream, and that was, I think there's a chance, I cannot prove it, it's all trying to piece together some data, that Jesus may not have been such a nice guy, in the sense that he was probably a warrior-like Messiah. He enters the city on if you take this as a memory, he enters the city on the donkey, messianic-like. He's a messianic claimant. They claim he's a king of the Jews. He is pretty much that coin scene. The way I understand that coin scene now is, show me a coin, right? And he says, whose icon in Greek? He had many words he could have said for face, image, portrait, whatever. He goes on to say, whose icon in the Septuagint and other places was used to describe a false god, a false idol. And so I'm wondering if Jesus, with the cleansing of the temple, like, this guy's like a radical. He's a radical. And even if he wasn't violent, his ideology in his mind was God's going to come in and be violent. So I find that pretty damning for the Christian theology, in my opinion, at the end of the day. It just, plus the fact that it failed, that's a whole nother thing. Like, it's all sorts of problems.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to go with the idea that there was like a cynic movement that was like a Gnostic cynic movement, like the Mandeans, for example. John the Baptist's movement. I think that because we know historically that there was a movement like this, and the Mandeans are called, and Manda is a word that means, in Aramaic, that means knowledge. So Mandeans are like Gnostic, literally. And so I think there was like a movement that was anti-materialistic, very cynical movement of Judaism that was countercultural in towards the temple Judaism that they thought was more materialist, and there were these wealthy, hereditary, wealthy Judeans who they were opposed. I think Jesus comes out of that school of thought, and it might be a little of both. They might have had some inclinations to fight against if they had to. Maybe they thought they were called upon to do some sort of insurrection. It might be both, actually.
I think it's interesting. My final comment on this, because I didn't want to go too deep in this. I'm actually working on a video that covers this. The fact that Jesus was crucified is a big red flag to me. If you grant he was crucified, not necessarily when and where and all that, the guy gets himself killed by Rome. It's not Jews, it's Rome. Most of the scholars I've ever read think that the whole kangaroo court that Messiah blasphemy, that scene is fictional. It's putting the blame on Jews right there in the earliest gospel. Likely got himself killed by Rome. And he's called Alastes, right? This is a very important point because in Josephus, he describes these insurrectionists, these people who are willing to fight. They're fighting, they're messianics, they're fighting against Rome.
He calls them Alastai.
Yep. And he gets killed between two of those. These are other insurrectionists. Now, how do I know they're insurrectionists? Go into Mark, and when he describes the scene between Barabbas is a murderer. He's killing people, and he's an insurrectionist. He's a Lastai. You know what I mean? This guy is one of the people who also was there in the insurrection, and Jesus is just too close for comfort. And the fact that he's so close to these people who are committing temple cleansings and Peter cutting off the ear of a Roman soldier in a garden. Hold on, what the hell's going on here, dude? You cut the dude's ear off, cutting off a soldier, maybe not a Roman soldier. I think it was Jewish soldiers, but like there are hints, right? I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. You know what I'm saying?
I can sort of see that, but it also is like they're the ones writing this.
Of course.
And so why are they going to put him? They put him in opposition to Barabbas, like he's the peaceful one. But then again, as you mentioned, he comes with a sword and we're talking about different texts now, so it depends on what text we're talking about. But yeah, the money changer thing, like he has some.
There's something going on.
He's not he's not like a hippie, peaceful, non-action guy. He's an action guy. So
something's happening, and that's why some scholars say no, he wasn't violent. But his ideology at the end of the day was that God's going to come in and he's going to slaughter. And in fact, in his parables, he says, when the son returns or when the father returns, he's going to take those people who did his son wrong and he's going to, and of course, many have interpreted this through the destruction of Jerusalem to be the father killing off those who treated his son like crap.
The saying that there will be no blocks left on the temple. Not a single stone will be left after the Son of Man returns in his glory. Like, talking about destruction, that's the destruction prophecy.
It's still violent, even if it's not necessarily get your swords. But I'm open to the get your swords part. And the last comment about what you just said is I started reading that and thinking about Joshua's Jericho. Like, here's Jesus, Joshua, and him saying not one stone will be left upon another. That's a Jericho scene.
That's mythicist.
In my mind.
That's a mythicist.
Hey.
That's a point to the myth. You're giving an alley-oop to the mythicist to dunk with.
I'm sure they will.
If that's because if they chose the name Joshua for that reason, Moses is gone, which is
he's coming to temple.
Moses represents the temple, and now that the temple is destroyed, now we're in the second age of Joshua,
and he's over here saying the temple walls are coming down.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Anyway, thank you so much for the super chat. Next one is huge $50 super chat.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Go ahead, read it.
Yeah, so when you have time, please look at Jesus, Lazarus matching typology to the Talmudic rabbis Yahosuza and Rabbi Elazar. Interesting. Thanks.
I guess I can look it up because they gave I can do. What's the passage? Did they give us the passage number?
No passage number. But
Stephanie in the chat, if you're there, you don't have to send another super chat. You already gave us enough. Please just write in, and I can look this up. I can ask ChatGPT.
I'm gonna screenshot this and investigate this later, just to see what's up with that.
So Talmud. So if you're in the chat right now, please just. I can ask ChatGPT. The Talmud about Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Yeshua. Talmud passage about Rabbi Yehoshua. Keep reading while I'm doing this.
No, that was it. So that was the question, and it was saying, thanks, but I think the challenge, the challenge question was a failure and need more time later. Yeah. So I don't know about this.
I think I found it.
Yeah, I've never heard about this.
You can go to the next one while I'm looking it up, though.
Okay. Thank you so much for that super chat. Selam, thank you. 7982. Appreciate that super chat. Zipple, thank you for that super chat. Zippol, I hope I'm not butchering that. Does Judas get his daughter-in-law pregnant, which becomes the seed of David, which is the seed Jesus, who is the seed of God? Okay, there's a lot here. And I was thinking, Judas, hold on, Iscariot? No, you're talking about the Judas in Genesis 48, I believe. He does get his daughter-in-law pregnant, and ultimately the seed of David is out of that lineage, yes. And of course, out of the lineage of David, supposedly in the New Testament, we have a genealogy that goes from David to Jesus. But the seed of God is a different question from the seed of David or the seed of Judas. So that's why you ultimately get this divine birth narrative. And when I see the divine birth narrative this way, I think of demigods, especially by the New Testament period. You're talking a Hellenistic world. It's Mediterranean birth narratives. That's due for the course. Everybody who's got this kind of birth narrative, they're aware of it. However, you can find these kinds of narratives in the Hebrew scriptures. You will find the most obvious one is the birth of Samson. If you're looking for an interesting article I loved, it's called A Strange Biography of Samson. And in that biography of Samson, they go over the story of Samson and Judges. And whoever the editor of this text was did not want... They put the angel of the Lord in there because it's clear that God ends up having intercourse with Samson's mom. And the dad's jealous. Josephus documents this in his rewriting of the Jewish scriptures. And he could tell that the husband is jealous because this angel of the Lord, which is supposed to be God, is interacting with his wife in a field. We also have law codes where that gets in a sidetrack. So anyway, definitely worth looking at that. But the idea of the seed of God, it's a birth narrative later. I would just say your question definitely comes from Judas, down to David, down to Jesus. That is the line that they are drawing in the Bible, which is odd to me that I'm not sure, Neil, why people would think he wasn't Jewish. I'm even the text seemed to indicate or imply
it's 100%. Is this?
Yeah, I don't understand.
I wasn't paying attention. Did Judas get his daughter-in-law pregnant, which was the seed of David?
Yeah.
So, did Judas get
No,
his daughter?
I'm just asking an additional question on top of this.
So first of all, when Jesus meets the Samaritan woman in John, she literally says, "You Jews are not allowed to talk to us Samaritans." She calls him a Jew. Jesus even says, "Oh, you were right to say this because salvation is from the Jews."
Right.
He's agreeing with her. He's a Jew. That's case closed. They just ignore this. You bring this up. It's like they have a force field around their brain.
Luke
They're not
says
allowed.
he was circumcised.
They're just like totally goes around them. And then you bring up like the genealogy goes back to Judah.
Yep.
Then you talk about how he says he's practicing. He gets circumcised on the 8th day.
8th day in Luke. Yeah.
He goes to Hanukkah, celebrates Hanukkah. He goes to Passover. He's
to the synagogues debating other Jews all day long, like Jews do. He's
culturally, religiously, ethnically, he's a Jew in every single way.
I don't get it. It's such a conspiracy.
He's more Jewish than Jews today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, literally. I mean, as much as you can be, you know what I mean? Like, my goodness. Biologically, I'm speaking, DNA wise, obviously, it goes back closer to that period. But whether Judah even existed is another question. But either way, they still have had this constructed concept as a people way back then. So Dustbuster Dust 6237, thank you for the super chat. I'm deconstructing. Any good book recommendations? Neil, you have probably a different go-to in your mind than maybe I would have in my. It depends on what the person's wanting to.
I'm deconstructing any good book recommendations. I mean, you're deconstructing. I'll
give mine, and I'll let you have a second, okay? For me, and I'm only speaking for me. When I started deconstructing, I actually started to be aware more of science. I had no freaking clue, dude. I was a young earth creationist for like a decade of my teenage years into my early adulthood. I was like wrestling with this. I knew people were old earthers, but I'm a fundy, right? I believe the Bible, literally. And I did not believe evolution was true. I thought it was a lie. I read that book, A Case for Christ, A Case for Creator by Lee Strobel. Both of those books I read. And when I deconstructed, I started to look more into science was my thing. There's a book called The Believing Brain. That was fascinating on understanding why we believe. It showed us how superstitious humans are, and even more than animals. Like every other animal on the earth, which we are animals, we are more superstitious than they are. And so I recommend those kind of books, but that's just me. It gave me a firm grounding in a scientific worldview that helped me try to look at reality and ground my things more into the natural world instead of magic, demons, monsters, that kind of stuff that I once believed. But you might have something different. That's what came to mind for me, Neil.
Yeah, I would get into some comparative mythology stuff. That's what I would. I mean, that's just I'm just going on my own.
I did do that before I got into the science stuff. So yeah, I think
read like Bruce Loudon's Greek myth in the Bible. That's a really good one. Bruce Loudon. Let's see. If you want to talk about if you want to get into the dating of the Old Testament, Russell Gomurkin. Jonathan Adler's The Origins of Judaism. I think I have it right here. Here it is, right here. Jonathan Adler, Origins of Judaism.
Yeah, what are they into? That's the question.
It's more scholarly, but it's easy. It's not hard to read Jonathan Adler. He's very, it's easy. It's not hard. You know?
Yeah, it's just a question, Dust, of what your thing is. What are you into right now? And then I can help recommend you. Like if you said,
I
hey,
don't care what anyone said. Oh, Christ Associations, John Kloppenborg. That's a good one. Oh, and I don't care what anyone says. If you're into like more popular, this Catherine Nixie is does have a master's degree, and this book gets hated on a lot.
Interesting.
A lot of people want to hate on this book. I like it, and I'm not the only one. There are actual professors in classics who give this book a thumbs up.
Interesting.
Darkening Age by Catherine Nixie. It goes through the history of Christianity and
the
sort of impact it had on the world, negative impact. She talks about like the martyrdom of what's her name?
Hypatia,
and she talks about how the Christians were destroying temples and destroying statues and kind of just ripping apart the whole civilization at the time period. I like it.
Yeah,
a lot of people hate on this book, and they have this weird knee-jerk reaction, and they'll bring up that she doesn't have a PhD and she's not blah 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 blah. It's too biased. It's too it's it's too subjective. So what? Why not? Why can't someone write a book that's subjective? So what?
Yeah, absolutely. Dust, thank you for that. M.R. Anderson, thank you for the super chat. Thoughts that Paul's Jesus, if truly a supernatural event, was a meeting with Satan. Paul's teaching conflict at times. He doesn't quote Jesus, and he even possibly admits it. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14. Okay, I got to dissect this.
This is a very meta, heady. What are we? What's our axiom here? Are we assuming Christianity is true? And then
you don't even have to. You could just say
to get to this point of view, you kind of have
to pretend that the world's full of different.
Well, here's the thing, because if Paul's saying he met Jesus, then the legend is that he met Jesus.
Of course.
But if you're going to assume that he met Satan, then you have to assume that the story is true, first of all, that it's not just a legend. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, if the thing that's in question is who he actually met, well, I don't believe this ever happened at all. I don't think this story, I think it's a mimesis.
Oh, I get it. No.
I think it's a mimesis of Saul.
I think we misunderstand the question.
Yeah,
that's why I was having a hard time. Thoughts that Paul's Jesus, if truly a supernatural event, was a meeting with Satan. That means he misunderstood it, and it was actually the devil or Satan that he was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it was truly a natural event, but
but even then, the pseudo Clementines do try to say Paul's vision was a demonic vision. He wasn't really interacting with Christ. So this is a weird debate that happened between the Petrine school and the Pauline ideas later, and I don't know how early they go.
I can see this being a thing.
Dude,
but like I said, it looks a lot. This whole thing to me looks way more simpler when you know that Saul, who's from the tribe of Benjamin, was chasing down the Messiah, who's David, and then he ends up while he's in En-Gedi. He's at En-Gedi.
We've been there.
He literally gets touched by David, and David says, "Why are you pursuing me, Saul? Why are you pursuing me?" Which is what Jesus says to Saul. Saul, why are you pursuing me? Saul, that's his name. And then Saul repents. Both Sauls are from the line of Benjamin. They're both chasing down the Messiah, David or Jesus, and they both meet the Messiah, who asks them, "Why are you pursuing me?" And they both repent and say sorry.
Right.
That's a lot of things lining up. That's a
I
lot
agree
of things
with
lining
you.
up.
Bro, we love this stuff.
So I don't think it's Satan. I think this is just a mimesis story.
I do agree, though. You and I both were talking about this before the live stream. That 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14, I believe it's the Last Supper, if I remember based on the memory. Can you pull that up? 2 Corinthians 11, 14?
2 Corinthians 11, 14. Yeah,
please.
let me share my screen.
Yeah. If you don't mind, man, because I can't share my screen through this computer. So, yeah. So what's second? Okay. Everybody hit the like button.
Do you want me to just do you want to oh, you want to see this whole passage or just 14?
Oh, yeah, do the whole passage actually.
Okay.
That's interesting. So okay.
And what I do, I will also continue to do in order to deny an opportunity to those who want an opportunity to be recognized or as our equals in what they boast about. For such boasters are false apostles, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles.
Come on,
of Christ.
bro.
And no wonder, even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not strange if his ministers also disguise themselves as
Keep
ministers of righteousness. Their end will match their deeds.
Keep going. Go down to
By the way,
17.
this is what a lot of people cling to this as the whole Lucifer thing.
Yeah.
Because Lucifer is obviously a mistranslation of Isaiah.
Right.
Not a mistranslation, a misunderstanding of Isaiah, because it's about Babylon, not Satan, the king of Babylon. Anyways, the people try to go, but what about this verse? It's like, so what? Anyways, I repeat, let no one think that I am a fool, but if you do, then accept me as a fool, so that I too may boast a little. What I am saying in regard to this boastful confidence, I am saying not with the Lord's authority, but as a fool. Since many boast according with human standards, I also boast.
Go down to 26 real quick, just so everybody can see in the same section.
On frequent journeys, in dangers from rivers, danger from bandits, danger from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brothers and sisters, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, hungry and thirsty, often without food, cold and naked.
I'm looking for the cup, the proclaim the Lord's death until he comes.
That's a different passage.
1 Corinthians 11, 26. Yeah, should be. Maybe.
I'm in 2 Corinthians. I don't know why I'm in 2 Corinthians.
Okay, but by the way, that's interesting. You brought that up. Is it
Okay.
2 Corinthians?
I thought you said 2 Corinthians.
It is second. My dumb.
No, I was in 2 Corinthians.
That's why I thought of the Lord's Supper,
I was in 2 Corinthians.
Okay, I had them backwards. The fact that they brought that up, though, that's a dispute between the groups. So Mr. Anderson is actually trying to highlight the thing I was saying about.
Wait, but I was in 2 Corinthians, though.
Right, you were correct.
Okay.
I was thinking 1 Corinthians because that very passage in 1 Corinthians 11, there's the Lord's Supper, the night he was handed over.
Yes. That's 1 Corinthians.
He says, I received from the Lord, not from Peter, not from James, not from tradition, even though that is a possible interpretation, but unlikely when Galatians says, I didn't get nothing from these guys. And he goes out of his way to really try to distance himself from the actual disciples, right? So I think there's some serious beef going on. 2 Corinthians 11 that we just read with your context. 1 Corinthians 11, that's why my mind easily made the mistake, is talking about that night he was handed over stuff. But great observation, and pseudo-Clementine literature goes further and questions the vision that Paul had, calling it possibly demonic. So these are other Christians who are saying, Paul, Peter, James, the disciples, they walked with him. They listened to the man himself tell them the teachings. And so you already have Jerry Springer right there in the New Testament, in my opinion.
By the way, I'm trying to find this passage. Oh, I think I found it. Here we go. Okay. The one from the earlier who gave $50.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's Yohanan. I'm not finding anything with Yehoshua. I'm just confused on what I need.
Can you email me?
There's so many Yehoshuas in here. I'm having a really hard time finding exactly what we're doing here. Hold on a second. Yehoshua. Okay, I think I found it. I think I might have found it. But it's just because, like, okay, this is what I asked ChatGPT, and it says, Yohanan said to Eleazar, give me your hand, and he stood up and healed him. That's Yohanan. That's not Rabbi Yehoshua. And then it says there's a second separate story in Sanhedrin 68a involving Rabbi Eliezer on his deathbed being visited by Rabbi Yehoshua. Okay, let's see that one then. Right? Would that be it? I don't know. I want to make sure we get to that. So
if they could email me or you and ask further clarification.
Here, I found it. I'm gonna read it real quick since they did pay.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
All right.
Share your screen or
yeah. This is from Sanhedrin 68a. It says the Gemara asks, did Rabbi Akiva learn these halakhat from Rabbi Yehoshua? But isn't it taught in the Bereta? When Rabbi Eliezer took ill, Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues came to visit him. He was sitting on his canopied bed, and they were sitting in his parlor. They did not know if he'd be able to receive them due to his illness. And on that day was Shabbat Eve, and Rabbi Eliezer's son Hyrcanus entered to remove his phylacteries. Phylacteries, as phylacteries are not worn on Shabbat. His father berated him, left him reprimanded. Hyrcanus said to his father's colleagues, "It appears to me that the father went insane since he berated me for no reason." Rabbi Eliezer heard this and said to them, "He, Hyrcanus, and his mother went insane. How could they neglect Shabbat preparations?" I don't know.
I don't see it.
I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the typology is here. It won't shock me if there is.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. But I gotta know exactly. Is this it right here? Rabbi had just stood on his feet and said, "The vow is permitted. The ostracism that was placed on Rabbi Eliezer is removed. It is pure and with this word, his soul left him in purity." Rabbi Yehoshua stood on his feet. Yeah. Okay. Looks like there's probably something going on here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, Stefan. If you would email us the specifics, that would help us out. I really appreciate it. Kevin Hogan, thank you so much for that super chat. I don't know if that's Saidi. Messiah, 4 kinds in Old Testament. 1, king of Persia. 2, prophet. 3, temple high priest. 4, royal ruler of Israel. So you have a king, you have a king of another country, Cyrus the Great. Prophet, you can go through several prophets that would fit this idea, and then temple high priest. Jesus could have become any of those things, but we know nothing about Jesus. It's an interesting observation. There are, what are the New Testament authors doing? Pulling from these scriptures, drawing elements from various types of messianic context, and many that aren't messianic, and then applying them as if they're messianic. So there's a lot of problems with what's going on in the New Testament with that. But I think James Tabor is the one who said that he believed that the idea that 2 messiahs were expected. You do get this with Akiva, which you were just reading in the Talmud, and Bar Kokhba, that there was a kingly messiah and a prophet type messiah.
Yeah, it's from it's from the Dead Sea Scrolls, where you have the Davidic Messiah and the Joshua Messiah.
Yeah,
or I'm sorry, the Aaron Messiah.
Yeah, priestly. So that John the
suffering
Baptist,
and triumphant.
They think that John the Baptist, or he may have fit some trope they're trying to say in the New Testament pertaining to the Messiah. Obviously, Elijah, must come first, that kind of thing. Yeah. We see that. So, yeah, I won't go so far to say we know nothing. I would say we know nothing with certainty. I would say we have text, and I think it's so messy and difficult that you can make scholarly suggestions, but it is a soft, subjective science. It is not rigorous.
It's also just a word that means to anoint. So it can be a king, it could be a knight, it can be anyone who's anointed for some sort of job is a Messiah.
Yeah, I'm just addressing the whole, we know nothing about Jesus. I mean, clearly we don't know him personally, but even in the text we do have, because they're papering it over with theology and legend and all this stuff, a lot of scholars think they can touch something. They think they might hint at stuff. I honestly have given up being confident and certain. A mythicist might come along and go, dude, you can't know anything. You can't know. And I go, well, you're right. I don't know. If
you're going to say that, then we don't know anything about Pythagoras. Because all the sources that mention Pythagoras are long after he's alive. And we have nothing he wrote down.
Right.
So you kind of have, it's kind of like an unfair I mean, it's not unfair to say like there's nothing we have from Jesus or his contemporaries. That's fine, but like the data is the data. Like we can talk about what we should accept versus what we shouldn't accept, as far as like what is exactly ripped from the Old Testament, what is typology, or what is a miracle. But like,
how do we know, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think you and I would agree with Kevin here in simply saying we don't have that kind of confidence.
Sure.
But we might have some moments of a little more confidence than others, but we're not like acting like we got it or we know. You go and read any serious academic on Jesus research, from some who say it's a lost cause. The quest is a lost cause. Don't try to find out who he is. To others who say, no, he's like this. And they will argue and debate it. And then others who go, sorry, he's like this. And by the way, probably equal IQ levels of very intelligence. And they can't agree on what they're looking at. And I'm sitting back here with popcorn going, today I'm a rebel Jesus follower. Tomorrow I might not know if he existed. And, I'm just on a journey learning.
And I think it's hilarious when you see some of these more mainstream biblical scholars who are just looking at the Gospels and like, well, it says Judas did this, and so he did it. Like, just taking things at face value, and that to me is like horrible methodology. That is like, you almost wonder how these people even have PhDs that they're doing it. Like, Judas was a real person. I think he betrayed him because he was mad about this, and you're all just speculating on why he betrayed Jesus, dude. It's so clear. This is like a genre. It's not like it's a specific kind of biography that we shouldn't take at face value. The genre it's in a class of its own, and it's rewriting the Old Testament to make a new story about the Messiah. Like, you can't just take these stories at face value. They're not.
That's the hard part. You cannot take these stories at face value.
You can't.
Yeah, and when you do, you see the typology, you see the rewrite, you see the fiction, and you have to be very cautious on what kind of are you stepping on like what looks like something solid, but it's not. You don't know what's up. That's the problem. Tracy, thank you again for the super chat. But you didn't think Isaiah is Hellenistic.
But don't you think Isaiah?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mentioned because I was talking about Josiah and Isaiah being the pierced one. Now, I've been clear about this from day one. I do think that there are sections of the prophets, for example, and even like Genesis, for example, that do go back to an older period of time. But the form that we have it in now is Hellenistic.
No doubt.
So I think there might have been an older version of Isaiah that does probably date back to the Persian period and writing and hearkening back to when they lost their temple, when they lost the kingdom. They're looking back at Josiah and what a great king he was, attributing stories to him. I don't think there is really. I mentioned earlier in this stream that he did these reforms. I don't actually think those reforms happened. I'm doing an internal critique of what the text says.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking the text at value. They look at him as the king who enacted these reforms. So Isaiah wrote this story about this great king who got killed and blah, blah, blah. And he sort of represents Israel and Jacob himself. But I'm saying I think this was written later. Now, how much later do I know? I don't really know. It's hard to tell. But I'll tell you this that I know. Isaiah mentions King Cyrus's name, and he supposedly lived 200 years before King Cyrus.
Right.
So Isaiah gets dated to like 700 BC by some people.
It gets divided into first Isaiah, second Isaiah, Trito Isaiah.
I'm just saying Isaiah in general is dated to 700 BC. That's when the prophet lived.
Right.
Most sane scholars, even the ones who are more on the maximalist side, know that he didn't mention Cyrus's name as part of a later version. Yeah. But here's the thing about that. So now we know at the very least, there's a section of Isaiah that's written way later, post King Cyrus. So what I'm saying is, I think it's more than people think. Yeah, I think most of it's after Cyrus.
You're thinking there is a tradition that may go back. What was that? You might laugh at it if you saw it. We don't know if the second Isaiah is really the original that went back, because even that's been touched up by the final redactors in the Hellenistic period. And this is why Ian Young on your channel and mine, we both interviewed him, and there's a fluid. The text is still being shaped and formed by Jewish scribes in the Qumran material. So you can see them changing. So like we suspect some goes back, no doubt. I really don't think an ex nihilo just pops in out of nowhere. And I think that even if some of it may have been written, let's say ex nihilo at some point under the Persian period, they probably had sources that we don't have today.
Exactly.
So like
they had sources, even if it's oral, even if it's like just one of the elders telling them, here's the link, here's how the kings were. The first king was David, the second king was, and then they, that could be part of the tradition. They could have had text. Who knows? It's fun to speculate. We don't know. The point I'm making is I don't think there was a prophet named Isaiah walking around predicting the end is going to come and that Israel is going to get conquered. And then it does happen, and it happens. I think that was written later.
I have one for you.
I think all the prophets are written later. So
what do you think?
I'm just being clear on that.
So I've got an interesting one that might.
Let me just say something real quick on this.
Go ahead.
And I want to hear your thoughts. Just think of how silly this is. The idea that there's a whole genre of Israelite prophets. I'm not saying they're all the same. They're not identical. They say different things. There are different forms of poetry in the prophets. I get that. I've read them all. Right. But what they all have in common is they're all predicting the destruction of Israel. They're all saying, woe to Israel, woe to the Ammonites, woe to the Philistines. Like basically saying they're all going to get conquered by the Assyrians. They're all going to get conquered by the Babylonians. It's all going to happen. And then it happens. You even have in Jeremiah or Ezekiel, I'm sorry. In Ezekiel, it says that nations will trample on Tyre, the island city of Tyre, then they will take the dust from the land and put it in the water. This is exactly what Alexander the Great does.
So I read
this
that
was
passage.
written in the Hellenistic period.
I was going to ask you about this. That's exactly the passage I was going to talk to you about because I'm not convinced. He says, this text says that it would be utterly desolate, that it would be down to the rocks. There'd be nothing remaining. But even under the Alexander the Great period, it wasn't eradicated down to the rocks. So I would like to see the text you're talking about, but I do know.
I'll pull it up right now. Ezekiel 26. Ezekiel 26. Let me see.
I did a video on this. Did you see my video where I point out the most embarrassing? I recently dropped the most embarrassing failed prophecy in the Bible, where he makes a prediction. It doesn't happen.
Is a failed prophecy.
I think it failed.
No,
I do.
I don't think that makes any sense. I think what makes sense is this was written way later. They shall destroy the walls of Tyre and break down her towers, and I will scrape her soil from her and make her bare rock.
Right. That never happened.
Yes, it did. Alexander
never made
the Great.
It bare rock. It was not. It was still a thriving city even after Alexander the Great went in and conquered. They made a deal. There was no destruction.
Saying. In the Hellenistic period, the land was all ruins, and the city.
They did build a bridge. I know.
The city was on the island bridge part.
Right.
So this would have sounded like a fulfilled prophecy to someone living in the 200s BC.
Well, here's the reason why I think it's.
But let me finish this though. She shall be in the midst of the sea, a place for spreading nets. If you look at Tyre in the Hellenistic period, it was a fishing city.
Right.
So whoever wrote this,
they continued doing that after.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Obviously not during the siege, but
but Alexander literally took soil from the land, scraped the soil from the land, and brought it out to and made the bridge. Yeah, so it sounds like they're talking about Alexander here.
I wonder if we're reading too much into that, in my opinion, because if you go to chapter 29 in Ezekiel, he describes how he promised that they would be completely, utterly destroyed. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So in the Bible itself, the prophet's prediction doesn't happen. 3 chapters later, he goes on to talk about it. Let me pull up the exact verse.
But that's what these prophets will do stuff like that, and they overplay their hands. So I think you're right. I think they were assuming that this place would be desolate, and they were wrong. Because you get like, okay, I am against you, Tyre, and I bring up many nations against you.
Right.
We know this happened. That happened. The Babylonians, the Assyrians sacked them. The Greeks sacked them. As the sea brings up its waves, they shall destroy the walls of Tyre and break down her towers. And I will scrape her soil from her and make her bare rock. Right. This sounds like it's explaining what happened to Alexander and Tyre.
There are, I see what you're saying. I'm not knocking that. in Ezekiel 29, 8 through 12, it talks about prophesying that Egypt will be utterly destroyed as well.
Yes.
I will make the land of Egypt a desolation and a waste, and that it will be uninhabited for 40 years. No human foot will pass through it. No animal foot. Egyptians will be scattered among the nations.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So what I think's going on here is I think they use legitimate history, and then what they do is, this is what I think is going on with these prophets. They're written later, and they're backdating themselves, and they're actually inserting things that actually happened. And then they're going beyond that to try to politically maybe scare, or maybe a taunt, or maybe like, and try to get people to think that, oh, you're going to be destroyed. You know what I mean? But here's the siege of Tyre right here. Yeah. Look at this.
Show the image. Yeah.
And which image?
The one right there in the upper right, just to show the bridge that Alexander then made. Right.
They took this city was completely destroyed, as the prophecy says. Alexander took a bunch of rock from this city and used it to construct a wall here. So the old city was literally put into the sea, all the ruins from it.
Right, exactly. Now
go to verse right here. Look at this. Alexander responded by besieging Tyre for 7 months. His soldiers discovered that they could not extend it any further due to a steep drop into the surface of the water. He ordered siege towers with catapults at the top. They allowed. Okay, so anyways.
So go to chapter 29, Ezekiel 17 through 20 real quick. This is the last thing, and then we'll move to the next super. I'm sorry I'm keeping it so long, dude. We're having 29? Fun, though. This is what what you do.
And then we'll open up some calls before we close out, too.
Okay. So it gets interesting here. 17 through 20, it literally says, pull it up here, 17 through 20. This is why I said I think the original failed. In the 20th year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me. This is Ezekiel. Son of man, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, made his army labor hard against Tyre. Every head was made bald, and every shoulder was rubbed bare. Yet neither he nor his army got anything from Tyre to pay for the labor that he had performed against her. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, I will give you the land of Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he shall carry off his wealth. Notice that it's to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. When you go back to chapter 26, where you were talking about how this has got the Hellenistic stuff, it's prophesying that Babylon will destroy.
Well, no, because it says it's talking about Babylon and future. Because it says right here. It says they shall destroy. It says I will bring up many nations against you.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's talking about now compared to it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar, and then after Nebuchadnezzar, which is the Greeks.
Yeah, well, it's
trying to use, because many nations, you can't say that's just.
It doesn't say it doesn't say what nation. That's what I mean. Like,
well, of course it wouldn't say that. Why would it say that?
The only nation in the context is Babylon. It doesn't.
I know, but
I don't think that's enough for me. That's not enough for me to be like, that must be Alexander.
For me, the scrape her soil from her and make her bear rock. She shall be in the midst of the sea, spreading nets. That to me sounds like what happens later. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Anyways, we can keep going.
Yeah, this is brotherly debate here. Okay. Continuing. Crash Meta Religion 1996. Thank you for the super chat. Were there any Christian sects that saw Jesus as what amounts to a demiurge-like figure? Wouldn't you say, John? I mean, it seems like even the pastoral epistles of Paul have him as a demiurge.
Jesus?
Yes. Like he's co-creator, he's part of the creation.
Yeah.
And or at least through him.
I don't know. I think they're talking about demiurge in the Gnostic sense.
Okay.
So I would say no, I don't think so.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't think so. But if you're using demiurge as just a curator, well, he's the logos, so he's actively part of creation of the cosmos.
Right.
That's even part of just orthodoxy.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
But that's why I don't think the question is about that. I think if you're talking about the demiurge, as in like Valentinian demiurge, Jesus was separate from that. So not that I'm aware of that Jesus is evil figure. So
Okay, now I get what you're saying. Because
then why would they be Christian? Why would they be Christians then if Jesus was evil?
Yeah, so I didn't read demiurge bad. I'm just thinking like the crafter,
Yeah.
You know,
and that's
like
orthodoxy.
Plato.
Orthodoxy thinks he's part of the demiurge. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But anyways,
it depends on how you mean demiurge.
Yeah.
And Azupiru, thank you. Good to see you. It's been a while since I've seen you here in the chat. It's not just every stone of the temple; it's every wall in the world. It was a scribal necessity resulting from the Sumerian wall house doorpost. I appreciate that. I'm not convinced of that. I just have to be real with you. I think that he just got done walking through Jerusalem in Mark 13, and he says, "See these." Matthew, he's very explicit. He says, "See these temples. See the buildings. Not one stone. You see them, right?" He's talking to his disciples. So I read that as the text is probably talking about the Roman-Jewish War. And anyway, but yeah, good. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah,
Victor Engelman, thank you so much. Heshui etymology is unclear, may have Aramaean influence.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it might be. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the word. I'll look. That'd be interesting if it did have some cognate overlap with Jesus. That'd be fascinating. It'd be cool to look at.
I would be like, what?
Yeah.
Desonics, thanks again for the super chat. Thanks for addressing the Philippians passage. I see both sides cited in defense. I'm starting to think Paul didn't exist. Thoughts or insights? I would recommend this. If you're going to question the existence of Paul, you got to get this book. You literally cannot pretend to be a Paul mythicist and not at least be acquainted with Nina Livesey's work. I'm not necessarily, but I'm not like, this is what'll piss some people off. Like, they want you in their team. They want you to just be on their side and agree with everything. Bro, when you learn so much and you see the mess of a buffet that is out there of academics that have different views, your confidence does not get so absolute. You really do get hesitant on making absolute certain conclusions when you have so much more to learn. Me and Neil are still learning. Like, we'll probably be this way in a decade, huh, Neil?
Yeah. So it says right here, when Saul, by the way, if you know this, and it's really, really important to note that Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin, okay? Saul returned from the following Philistines. He was told David is in the wilderness. The wilderness, right? Paul goes, meets Jesus in the wilderness. Saul took 3,000 chosen men of Israel and went to look for David and his men in the direction of the rocks of the wild goats. He came to the sheepfolds beside the road where there was a cave. Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were sitting there, the innermost parts of the cave. David said to him, "Here is the day in which the Lord has said to you, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it seems good to you." Then David went and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's cloak. Afterward, David was stricken to the heart because he had cut off a corner of Saul's cloak. He said, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, the Lord's Christ,
Messiah. Yeah.
The Lord's Messiah in Hebrew, Christ in Greek, to raise my hands against him, for he is the Lord's Messiah." So David scolded his men severely and did not permit him to attack Saul. Isn't that interesting that Saul is the anointed king? And then Saul got up and left the cave on his way. Afterwards, David also rose up and went out of the cave and called after Saul, my lord the king." When Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. David said to Saul, David says to Saul, this is important, "Why do you listen to the words of those who say, David seeks to do you harm? This very day your eyes have seen the Lord gave you into my hand in the cave, and some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, why? I will not raise my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. See my father, see my father, see the corner of your cloak in my hand. Oh, for by the fact that I cut off the corner of your cloak, I did not kill you. You may know for certain that there is no wrong treason in my hands. I have not sinned against you. May the Lord judge between you, and the Lord avenge me." And the ancient proverb, blah, 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 a lot of bullshit here. I'm trying to get to the point. And then here it is. Here's the part. "Against whom the king of Israel has come out. Whom do you pursue?" By the way, me and Nina looked it up in the Greek. It's almost word for word what Jesus says to Saul in the Greek.
Now we're talking about Paul, Saul,
Yeah.
in Acts.
Saul in Acts, when he says, "Why do you pursue me?" Jesus says to Paul.
Yep.
A dead dog, a single flea. May the Lord be. And I'll pull it up in a second to show you guys. While you go to the next one.
Which verse? Where are you at though? In 1 Samuel 24.
This is in 1 Samuel 24.
Got it. Okay.
And then real quick before I pull up the Greek to show you guys that, or before you go to the next super chat, because I want to kind of get going. Is that your voice? Saul lifted up and wept. He said to David, "You are more righteousness than I, for you have repaid me, whereas I have repaid you evil. Today you have explained how you dealt with me, and then you did not kill me. The Lord put me in your hands. For whoever has sent the enemy safely away, may the Lord reward you for what good you did. Now that I know that you shall surely be king, and the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Swear to me therefore by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me." So he repents here.
Yeah.
So it's just like you can see this. Okay. Anyways, you get the point.
Powerful stuff. And Michael Koshinosh, he has an article. If you're looking for that to really dive in deep, it's called "Better Call Paul Saul." He titled it that based on the TV show Better Call Saul that everyone knows about. So he says, "Better Call Paul Saul." Google it. You'll find it. It's on the internet. It's downloadable and it's amazing. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Georgie, thank you for the super chat. What is your thought about the hypothesis that Yahweh slept with Sarah in Genesis 21, 1-6, and Isaac being a demigod? In that same article, a strange biography of Samson. I wish I could pull this up, Neil. My damn computer, bro. I would be pulling this up. Yair Zokovich is the author of that, if I got the correct scholar's name, A Strange Biography of Samson. He gets into the Hebrew. God opens her bosom, this language, and then you could even say that the getting pregnant with Eve's pregnancy may have been caused directly by Yahweh. And the Hebrew says something like, "I have begotten a son by Yahweh." Now, most just say, "Oh, the Lord blessed me with a child." That's it. But in the Hebrew, it can be read that the Lord God, helped her get pregnant. And some later redactor is fixing an earlier, I want to put in scare quotes, pagan, clearly a typical birth narrative that you'd find with gods impregnating women and stuff. So I don't know what to do with all that. But Yair Zokovich, who's an expert on the Hebrew, identifies the most obvious as Samson's, but yes, Sarah, pretty much almost any circumstance you find where there's a woman who is barren and can't have children, you may hear the language, especially closer to the original language, indicate that God impregnated her himself.
Wow.
And the editors are trying to work over them, but there's fossils in the text by experts that highlight this stuff. I think it's fascinating to me. Thank you. Next super chat is Azu Piru. Again, I always mess this up because your name used to be JC or something like that. And now it's something else. And I cannot read this, I see the gur. I don't know if that's a dinger or whatever. Tigris and Baranun. I have no freaking clue. Euphrates are the mists. Is the Pishon a basket? Bison? I have no freaking clue, bro.
What are we doing? Oh,
Neil.
Yeah, I'm not an Akkadian guy, so I don't know.
If you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I'd be screwed right now. I'd have to call a friend. I don't have a friend to call right now.
Yeah.
That is way over my head.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Kevin Hogan, again, thank you for this. Another dub. Josephus writes, chapter 75, Life. 3 of his friends being crucified while he travels with the Roman general soon to be emperor. Titus after the fall of Jerusalem. That mapped to Jesus. Educated guess, we know it.
Yeah, check this out. Sorry to cut you off on this.
Go ahead.
1 Samuel. You're uses this word. I know. 1 Samuel. Okay, let's look at this. This is very interesting. Because someone might say here, first, before I come here, let me go to the Acts real quick.
We'll come to you, Kevin. Don't worry, we're coming, man.
Yeah. In Acts 9, I just want, while we're still close to the topic, someone might say, well, he says, why do you persecute me? He doesn't say, why do you pursue me?
Right.
No, that's not what he says. In the word, he says, ti me diokes. So diokes means to pursue. Now, just to prove this, Saul, why do you pursue me? To prove this, I'll show you. I'll show you the Greek of Samuel. He uses the word right here, theokes. Now he has the prefix kata, which means, like it's like the act of doing it. Like it's got the prefix on it, but it's the same word, theokes. So it's literally, why are you pursuing me, Saul?
Literally.
So you can make the case that this is clearly being borrowed from, even linguistically, from Acts 20 or from Samuel 24 to Acts 9. It uses the same word for pursue.
Bingo. Yeah, thank you. Kevin says Josephus writes, and this is about the 3 friends who get crucified while he travels with the Roman general, and then of course 2 of them, he asks to have them all 3 taken down. 2 of them died from their wounds, and 1 of them survives. And there are many who think, online specifically, I don't know, I haven't got Theodore J. Whedon's paper yet from Westar Institute. Remind me, Neil, while I have that on my mind, to connect you with the publishing company, because I just spoke to very important people in that publishing company, and they asked me about you. So that's good news to help you get you some publications and to help you, be able to do some good scholarship. And I said, look, Neil, I got you the hookup. But at the same time, it's to help, get the scholarship out there. Theodore J. Whedon looked at Josephus to explain some of the stuff, even in Mark. I want to give it a shake. I want to check it out. If that's the case, does Mark know about the 3 friends and then just kind of rewrites a story about Jesus and 2 people on a cross together? It's 3. It's odd, right? Why isn't it 5? Why isn't it 4? Why isn't it 7?
No, this is good. This is a really strong point, in my opinion.
Yeah,
this might be drawing from, or maybe just like, even maybe unconsciously you're rewriting. You're telling a story that you just got finished reading Josephus like a week ago, and now it's fresh out of your. It could be something like that, like something it just closely relates to somehow.
Yeah, and it could potentially also just be coincidental.
That's true.
3 is a common number. I mean,
3 is a common number.
You can go through different routes.
I'll give you that.
I think it is interesting that one of the friends survived, though Jesus dies and then survives, resurrects, if you will. But it's like, did they use this as a template? Some think so. And I think that's what Kevin's getting at.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, you rock. Thank you so much for that support. Zachary Johnson 7740 says, do you guys lean more toward nihilism or existentialism? Where do you land on that spectrum, and why?
Well, not nihilism. But I don't, is that really like a spectrum? Does it have to be one or the other? So I guess, existentialism. I don't know. I'm just not a nihilist. So
yeah, I don't really have a particular. Most of the people I know that are actually nihilists have said, hey, this is pretty dark. Some of the where they go, it gets pretty dark in the way they view the world. So I don't think I just intuitively live with that kind of philosophy in mind. But I don't really know where I land, to be honest with you. I'm very much in the air.
Like I told you, I like to map out the world with metaphysics. I do kind of, even though I'm not like a dogmatic theist, I do have ways I look at the world and answer questions of things we don't know, filling in the blanks with the muse. I think the muse inspires me to do my videos. I say that all the time. Mm-hmm. So that would make me, I'm totally not a nihilist at all. Like I really think the world is good and things are good, and I have a lot of hope for the future and stuff like that. So yeah. But good question.
I think all of that's why it's tough for me, because I think all of those, even if they are natural and they're human things that we've evolved in order to have those kind of perceptions, I still don't. I don't view. Maybe it's a straw man of the nihilist position to think it's only dark, only negative. Some may not see it that way. I don't know if ever. I'm not huge on knowing much about it, to be honest. To be frank, I have not done a deep investigation of it. I've been warned about it if you dive into it, Yeah. But I don't know much. Honestly, I don't know much about it. To be frank.
That's fascinating. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hit that like button, everybody. Next super chat, MR Anderson. Thank you for the super chat. The most important question is, who really is Jesus? Also up there with some importance is who is MythVision, as well as who is Gnostic Informant. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate that.
You know, how would you? I can't speak for Jesus. I don't know if anybody can. I don't even think Jesus can speak for Jesus. But anyway, what about you?
I mean, I'm just a guy that's trying to understand the world and trying to understand our past, trying to resurrect the dead in a way by reading their works, bringing it to the world. So I'm just a guy trying to resurrect the dead.
Yeah, I'm a curious human being who is on a journey and hopes that he's not alone on that journey and wants to have other people join the journey with them. And, that encompasses just compassion and love and try to be patient, understanding, and all that kind of stuff. All the good stuff that we all like, I think. So that's who I like to think that I am. Yeah. You know what I mean? I could also be, if you rub me the wrong way, but no, I think we all can be those things. But thank you. William Arons, thank you so much for the super chat. We don't know Jesus and have no personal relationship with him. The only relationships that matter are those that church members have with one another. This includes any transcendent experiences. What are your thoughts about that, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, actually. Yeah, I don't nothing to disagree with. I think you make makes a lot of sense.
I think, especially within the Christian tradition, I think that's a much more optimistic future, because if you get Jesus relationship conversations going on in your head and he starts telling you stuff and then you have this secret knowledge and then everyone else is a heretic now and all that kind of, I think it's much safer to know that your friends, the real humans that are tangible, you can touch, you can shake, you can hug. I think that that's the greatest place to find that kind of life, because I was the delusional wackadoodle. My relationship with Jesus was more important than like even my family around me in my mind, where I'm like, oh no, I got to hate my mother, father, sister. I didn't take that as like actually hate them, but it was like I cared more about Jesus than I did about the people around me. And I had a real radical, literal fundamentalist view like Neil did. And it messes up your social life. It messes up how you see the world, I think. And I agree with this interpretation, especially if you're a Christian in the tradition. I highly recommend this advice by William, and, make sure you're stick it to the ground. My dad used to tell me, Neil, one time, I'll just say this before we move on, is I used to be completely, if I just have the faith of a mustard seed, I could say to a mountain, be gone in the sea. And it would literally fly into the sea. I believed it. It never happened, but I'd sit there and really like squint my eyes and try with the faith just to see this little hill move, like anything, right? And it wouldn't happen. And Dad would tell me, son, if you were in a closet and you shut the door and you said, I'm not getting out until God feeds me, he said, we would find your corpse in the closet. And I'm like, no, you just got to have enough faith. God would end up feeding you and making sure that you don't die. And he's like, no, son, if you don't open the door to the closet, go to the kitchen, heat up the microwave, get your hot dog and eat it, you will not live. You will die. And I was like, in my mind, my dad doesn't know what he's talking about. Bro, my dad knew exactly what he was talking about. Yeah. Thank you so much, William. Knight Silver 5691, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that support. Alan in the house. What's up, Kurt? Good to see you.
Nice.
Why do you two think the nomina sacra tradition is so early and so widespread? Was it to cover alternate spellings of Christos?
Yeah, and Jesus' name, like IS, instead of just Jesus, that just IS. I'm pretty sure.
Good question.
It's for scribes to save room and like not be repetitive. They just write IS and key row. But you also find it in inscriptions in like the catacombs. So yeah, it is pretty early, 2nd, 3rd century, I think, you start finding those inscriptions. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I never even thought about that. Yeah, I mean, the scribal, there's the scribal reason for it, which makes a lot of sense. Like even Josephus shortens people's names sometimes to save room. And the manuscripts, I'm saying, not Josephus, like the Josephus manuscripts have like shortened names to save space. So that's the scribal thing. But that then the question arises, why are they doing this in the inscriptions and in artworks and stuff like that? There goes my light again. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe they just like it. It's an artistic thing. I don't know. It's a good question. I never even thought about that.
It is, and I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know the answer to this. Part of me wonders about thinking of the sacred name of God, and how Jews saw, they would use other alternatives from Yahweh. They wouldn't say the name Yahweh. So it makes me wonder if they've already, within the theology, started to equivocate that idea that we find within Jewish ideas about Yahweh and apply it to Jesus. But then again, nobody was not saying the word or name Jesus. So it doesn't quite transfer. So I don't know what to do with that. I'm just guessing. It's a good question, though. I'd like to know the answer too.
Something I never even thought about that. Like, what made them want to do? Like, what made them start doing that so early on? Yeah, good question.
Yeah, thank you, Ozzy Piru. The falling of the walls is a Hebrew prophecy. Interesting. I'm curious to know which one for the temple discussion there in Mark and Matthew and all that. And then also, why does the Lord smite lintels and cut capitals?
Smite lintels? Does he smite lintels?
I don't know.
Are we being trolled right now?
No, they've been around for a while here. Hold on. They said, see the book on institutional grammar I've linked. And I'm just skipping the next super chat to make that obvious.
Amos 9:1 says, I saw the Lord standing beside the altar, smite the capitals, lintels, until the thresholds shake, and shatter them on the heads of all the people. Mm-hmm. Those who are left, I will kill with the sword. None shall flee. None of them shall escape.
Yeah.
By the way, this harkens back to what I was saying before. I don't like. You can't point to any other culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, Greek culture, Roman, Gauls. Like you can't. They don't have a genre of prophets that walk around telling everyone the world's going. Everything's going to be destroyed. Everything's going to be destroyed. That's specifically in the Hebrew Bible. And it makes you wonder, is this some sort of this makes me think that this is some sort of genre that came about to explain what happened to their past. Well, we were being warned by our prophets that this destruction was going to happen, but we were so stuck with our Asherah poles and our balls and our Molechs. We weren't listening, and we got destroyed as the prophets predicted.
Right.
So maybe we should stick to the law this time.
Right.
That's what it serves a function.
It
only makes sense to be written later. I don't think there was really an Isaiah walking around or a Micah or whoever the oldest prophets were. I just don't think that's true. Now the second batch of prophets where you get Habakkuk and Zechariah and Nehemiah, that to me fits a little bit more better because it's coming about where it's more about like coming back from being in the captivity, and that type of thing makes more sense. But I wouldn't be surprised if when Nehemiah and Zechariah are being written, there's another scribe somewhere else writing, Isaiah or something.
Interesting.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Thank you for that super chat. I imagine judgment is dealing with things that are going on within their sacred locations, and that might make sense. He's trying to destroy their holy instruments and such. So Zippo, thank you for the super chat. I hope I said it right. Zippo 149 or Zippo 49. Was Paul a Hellenistic Jew that converted himself to a Pharisee Jew, then back to a Hellenistic Jew because his mother was a Roman Gentile, which invented Christianity?
Well, you can be a Hellenistic Jew and a Pharisee at the same time. I think the Pharisees tended to be on the side of Hellenizing.
Yeah.
Versus the Sadducees, who are the sons of Zadok, or from the Levite tradition, and they're a little more hardcore, sticking to the traditions of Moses a little more. The Pharisees are more Hellenistic.
Yeah.
Or Persian too, like whatever, just more going outside of just what's in Moses. Like That's what. So yeah, I don't think you have to convert to something. There is no like conversion from heresy, from Hellenistic to Pharisee. Like you just can be that way. So his mother was a Roman Gentile.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe. I think he's half. Wasn't he a Roman citizen? I mean, he might be.
Supposedly by Acts, the book of Acts is saying he is.
Yeah, there might be some other apocryphal tradition about his mother being a Roman Gentile. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
I'm not sure. That I'm not aware of.
Right. The letters.
But I don't know everything, so I could be wrong.
Yeah, the letters don't say that he was a Roman citizen, but Acts does, and maybe that reflects an early tradition or something. Yeah. But it is full that Acts is historical fiction to me.
It is.
It's pretty obvious to me. I mean, only people who are fighting for that cause, in my opinion, are those who already are drinking the Kool-Aid on that. Being real, just keeping it real with you. Thank you so much. Toronto Bible Study. Good to see you, Toronto.
We are taking calls, but we're trying to get to these super chats that keep calling in.
Hey, we're happy with that too, though. I mean, at the end of the day, we can always do another one. Like tomorrow, we can do another, and we could do more of these. So neither of you understand that tire prophecy.
Whatever. I never know he says that. Come on, let's hear you tell us what it means.
Well, he'll tell you a ton of shit, dude. I know Toronto. Toronto just go on and on.
Do we have a list of the Egyptian pharaohs and their viziers? Yeah, we do. We have a few of them. We have Manetho, and we have papyri that has lists on it. So yeah, we do.
Toronto. I'll tell you this, Neil. Every time Toronto comes on, we always debate. Okay. And even though I think he's wrong on almost everything we talk about, bro.
I can't believe he's still talking to me about the pharaohs. I only talked to him one time, and he was going crazy because I mentioned that we know who the pharaohs were and who their viziers were, and there's no Joseph, which is true.
Yeah.
And he was like, we don't know that. We don't know that. But we do. So sorry.
Yeah.
Unless you want to just deny the primary sources, go ahead. Be my guest. But I'm not doing that.
Even though we totally disagree, though, he's like one of the more tolerable, like I can tolerate, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's pain in the ass sometimes, Toronto. I'm just keeping it real, though. Keeping it real with you. But I still love him. I think he could be a pain in the butt, though. Zachary J. Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Quick question. Do you guys attend AA meetings, SMART meetings, SOS meetings, or any other meetings?
I don't.
You don't? Not anymore, right?
Not for me.
I used to on a regular, very early on when I was struggling. And I still have a Discord from about 10 years ago when I started.
Discord?
I have a Discord.
Discord
platform.
Was around back then?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought Discord was new.
Yeah, I actually have an international meetings Discord that I own. It's got to be over 10 years. It has to because I start
2015. Yeah, just about.
Yeah, and
so you must have just started using it when it first came out.
Yeah, and I started a whole platform for recovery where they had online meetings and various people were hosting them and managing it all for me because. Bro, I was doing recovery videos and I was working at a construction company trying to help drug addicts who were struggling with addiction like I was. And it took off, man. I think there's like 5,000-6,000 people in that Discord. And cool. So if anyone at home is struggling, you can go look up Rewired Addiction on Discord. Mm-hmm. I created it. And of course, it's managed by people who are devoted to recovery. So I don't go to meetings anymore, though I'll be happy to go with someone if it was a family member who's like, I need to go to a meeting or something. I'll go with them. I'll help them like by going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want me to put the link in now? Because we only have 3 super chats left. Well, actually, we have 2 super chats left. One of them is just a super sticker. And then we can do because it's gonna first come, first serve. I'm gonna put the link in now.
And I got a hard stop at 3 hours, no. So that's about
so we only have a little more time then. Okay.
45 minutes
Can we go 3.5?
I'll try, but okay. I know dinner's going to be done, and I'll be starving.
I want to give them some. I want to give these people some time to come. We didn't have anyone. All right, we got 2 super chats left. I'm putting the link in there now. There it is, right there.
Kevin, do you want me to put my link in?
First serve. No, I put it in for all. But you might have to. Okay. You might have to
pin it.
Pin it on your own.
Well, we're gonna get a bunch of people jumping in here, huh?
But go ahead, keep reading.
Yeah. So Kevin Hogan, thank you again for another
Kevin.
Chat. Yeah. Really appreciate
I'll read the next one.
Go ahead.
The system signal, thank you for the 10. Jesus wasn't trying to build a religion. He was showing a way to live. By the way, that is a religion. Just so you know, the Latin word religio just means way of life. So he is trying to build a religion if he's trying to show a way to live. Not follow me blindly, but live like this. I disagree with that. He wants you to follow him. If you're taking the text at face value, he wants you to leave your family and follow him to the end. He's very strict about this.
Yeah.
The system turned the example into worship. I mean, I think he wanted you to worship him. I'm pretty sure the Gospels are very clear on that. He wants your full devotion. It's not just about a stoic way of life for Jesus.
Yeah.
So thank you for the super chat, but I would hard disagree on that.
Thank you so much. Everybody, you rock. No, but James, the book, the letter of James literally says this is true religion, and it goes through several things, right? It's describing take care of the widow and the hungry and all that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dylan Warner. Is Islamic Isa versus Greek Isis, Vedic Ishvara? Nope. Is a concept of Hinduism, Krishna? Yeah, no. There was one author it was like a Freemason. What's his name? You know the guy I'm talking about, Manly Hall.
Manly P. Hall.
We're talking Indo-European religion or Indo-European language and Semitic languages. They have very few borrowing. Like the word for wine, oinos in Greek, is yayin in Hebrew, and we know that the Near East learned cultivation of the vine from the north, and they brought it down. That's very old, though. That you start finding that word even in Babylonian sources very early on. So there is some words that you find that overlap, but not names and stuff like that. No, not Christian. Christian does not mean anointed, that type of thing. So, but it's very interesting. I love the thought process behind it. It's very interesting. Thank you. So we finally got through. We have like an hour left. Let's do one. Let's do it to 3:15. We'll cut off there.
All right. Can I use the restroom real quick? Be right back. Go ahead if you want to take.
And Toronto. I'll bring on Toronto Bill Study. He was the first one here. So by the way, we're going to be doing audio only for everybody. So just so you guys know, because we're doing me and Derek are doing audio only.
I don't mind if Toronto, if you want, because I know who he is.
Yeah, but then everyone's going to want to be. Okay, we're just going to keep. We're going to stick to the script. We're sticking to the script.
Cool.
But we can hear you, Toronto. We can hear you. No, we're doing one at a time, man. We're doing one at a time. So
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So okay. So I don't know. I wanted to ask you about the time prophecy, but I also wanted to ask you about the visitor list. I thought you would do your research and find out that that's not true. Like by now.
No, it is true.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, hold on. No one knows what you're talking about. No one knows what we're talking about. We have a list. We have lists, plural, of all the pharaohs from the first dynasty down to the last dynasty, and we have an almost complete list of who their vizier was.
No, we don't. That's
Yes, we do.
That's completely false. First of all, the list we have from ancient times, right? You're talking about the primary documents, right? The list we have from ancient times are incomplete. They're
I'm not saying they're complete. I'm not saying they're 100%.
Yeah, you did say they're complete. You did say they're complete. That's my whole point.
There's a few, but they're mostly
and also
complete.
The viziers are definitely not complete. They're far from complete.
You want to see
the
list?
Close to complete.
You want to see the list?
Yes, I know. It's speculative, dude. It's very speculative.
It's not.
It's theoretical.
He's dishonest. Get him out of here. Look, you're dishonest. You're lying. He's lying. I can't talk to dishonest people. All right, no Coiner, you're on. Get this guy out of here. You said this guy was good. He's not good at all. He's dishonest.
Look, I have
dishonest.
fun.
He's lying.
I have fun with Toronto.
I
but
can't
you
stand
have
people.
A different
I can't stand people who just say shit on the fly because they think the audience they can catch people in the. You're being dishonest. Here, let me show you the list right now. List of viziers. And he's going to say, "Oh, this is Wikipedia." It doesn't matter. The Wikipedia page is sourced from papyri. I'll show you right now. Vizier in ancient Egypt. We have a whole list, the pharaohs and who their viziers were. Now, you could read Manetho. You could see the list in Manetho, or there's other papyri that people have brought together. Yeah. Now, I never said that we know for 100% sure who every single one is. But we do have like these ones right here in the 4th dynasty and on. The 1st dynasty gets really, really sketchy. At the closer to history you get, the better the picture gets. See, look at vizier. So when he said we don't, it's all speculative. He's a liar. I'm kicking you off the screen. You're a liar. This isn't speculative. This is based on the primary sources. Nobody's making this stuff up. No one's making these names up. And the fact that he waited that was like 2 months ago when we talked about this on another stream. And he comes in here 2 months later, still wanting to talk about this. He's an idiot. The guy's. I can't stand people like that. Go away, dude. You're annoying. Look how perfect this list is. There's like two total that we don't have. That's it. Look at this one has a question mark next to it. All right. Anyways, the idea that we don't have a list, you're a liar. Stop lying. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Okay.
So no Cornea, you're on.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey, Neil, what's up, man? Hey, I'm Archetype Theory from Twitter, from X, and I mentioned the. So I've been memeing Jesus wasn't Jewish lately, and give me like 30 seconds just to frame it.
Go ahead. Yep.
Because I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so I came from a background like you guys, really intense, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of culty kind of pressure, and as an adult, I see the cultural rift between the West, between Christianity and paganism. And there's a tug of war going on between, Zionists trying to pull Christianity into current wars. Who gets to control the framing of Christianity? So to me, because it's a zero-sum game in terms of who Jesus was, because we don't know for sure, right? So when I look back, either from a historical or mythic perspective, I wanted to analyze it from the sense of, well, if it's a zero-sum game, what if Jesus wasn't Jewish? So that's where I started from. I started to kind of look for what could be that sign. And one of the interesting things is Jesus, at least from like the mythic perspective, the point was to be born into sin and to transcend it, to transcend that evil, and that was the Messiah. And so I went from the perspective of, well, Jesus could be born into Judaism, but not necessarily be ethnically Jewish. And earlier you guys had talked about the matrilineal versus patriarchal aspect of Judaism. Mm-hmm. And one thing about Judaism is it's designed to hijack lineages, because it takes one time for someone's complete lineage and identity to be hijacked by the Jewish eschatology. There's many people who have one person who's Jewish, and suddenly they're Jewish.
Okay.
Their entire lineage is European, right?
Yeah, that's possible.
Totally. Well, it's not just possible. It's the norm of modern day Judaism. Most Jews.
What do you mean by that?
Most Jews have scant Semitic, real Jewish lineage. It's a lot of European lineage hijacking.
What are you talking about? We can do DNA testing, and they come back as 100% from the Levant. Not 100%, like mostly the Levantine DNA, which is the J DNA. The J, you have R1b is European or whatever. They have the J. You can deny the science of testing of what do you call it? Of haplogroups. You could just deny that flat out, but then I just think you're an idiot.
Well, here's a question. What do
you think about that?
No, you're right. But what I'm going to say is
most Jews aren't really Jews. What do you mean? They are.
If I may chime in here real quick, just to make a point. If you're going to posit a hypothesis, let's just call this a hypothesis, because it seems more like a social trend, especially in light of recent events in the world.
You're right.
This hypothesis needs serious weight.
Yeah, where's the evidence?
Okay,
I can point to dozens of early Christian, even early Jewish sources, but forget about the Jewish sources. You think there's something wrong with them, they're lying, whatever. Early Christian sources that mention Mary being Jewish, being raised in the temple, being betrothed to Joseph at age 12. We have all this data about her being Jewish. Where's the evidence that she's not?
Yeah, and taking
give me one primary source.
Let me not interrupt.
Give me one primary source that Mary is not Jewish.
Okay, so there's no sources that say she's Jewish.
Yes, I just told you. There's dozens.
No. In the Bible, she is not
why would we
said
look
to
at
be
the Bible?
to be Jewish.
Why
because
would we
that's
look at the Bible?
because we have to go back to the main narrative of Christianity. That's so Mary. So her name is good in Egyptian language. It means the beloved.
No. That's the etymology of it. That's not her name. That's a Jewish name. Mary.
Most truth is in etymology. Most narratives are social engineering. So anything back then is social engineering.
That's not a reason to deny. You can't just use that as a ticket to deny a source.
Yeah, names.
Look at this from Josephus. You type in the word Mary. There's dozens of Marys in his Jewish war and antiquities story. Mary, daughter of Eleazar, the village of Bathsheba, eminent reason by her family and fortune, who had fled with the rest of the people to Jerusalem and became involved in the siege.
Where does the name Moses come from?
That's a whole different question, though.
Yeah, we're talking about Mary right now.
Yeah, and we're dealing with Jesus specifically. So it sounds like, and just being honest with you, it sounds more like if you're going to go so far to doubt this guy is Jewish and willing,
what would the name Moses have to do with Mary anyway?
Here, give me 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Most of Jewish lore is stolen from other cultures, namely Egypt, and then it's inverted.
So what?
Hold on. No, it's not. It's not.
What?
So what? It's important because as we contextualize the past, most of the truth is going to be embedded in the linguistics, not so much the narrative, because they're going to write down. Most Jewish lore is stealing from Egyptian, but it's stealing from Egyptian lore.
Stealing is an anachronistic.
Okay, hold on. Did Virgil steal from Homer? You call it stealing? Do you think Virgil stole from Homer?
The proto-Jews in Egyptian
he literally
clashed.
Homer.
They clashed.
No, this is how culture is. This is how culture is. You can't steal it. Don't steal it. You would get inspired by. You draw from.
They framed themselves in opposition to the Egyptians. Much of what Judaism is, it's not.
This is mind-numbingly stupid. This is mind-numbingly low IQ.
Okay. Listen.
I take this serious note.
Losing IQ points right now. You said there's not a single source that mentions Mary not being Jewish. I can give you dozens that say she is. What do you want? What do you think I'm going to do? Listen to you with your speculation, or go with the primary sources?
Right.
Listen. Give me 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
Oh, give me 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. Okay.
All right.
Mary.
The next guy.
Mary has in the Bible nothing said about her lineage, even though Judaism comes through the matriarchal line. Nothing said about her being Jewish or anything like that. Her name is a negative connotation, meaning rebellious and against God in Hebrew.
That's
and
not
has a
what
positive.
Hold
on.
No, you're wrong though. You're full of shit. Mary
Give me 30
does not
seconds.
mean rebellious. It means beloved. It means beloved.
In Egyptian, not Hebrew.
Rebellious in Hebrew.
I promise. Look it up right now. Go ahead. Let me finish while you look that up.
All right.
Okay. So Jesus is born, and what does he do with his life? He does the opposite of everything Jewish. It's a white man trying to escape. It in Egyptian. It means beloved in Egyptian, not Hebrew.
Yeah, but that's the etymology of it.
No. Okay, but that's what Jews do.
This is beside the point. This is stupid. What does Jews have to do with anything?
Jews invert things, and everything they do is laced in symbolism and language. Right?
So even the Old Testament, but you believe in the Old Testament.
I don't believe in the Old Testament.
But the New Testament's completely dependent on the Old Testament. What the hell? What kind of worldview is this? This is scatterbrain nonsense.
Listen, it's all zero sum because you can't prove any of that.
Why would you even be a Christian then if you believe this about the Old Testament? It's all.
I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were.
I'm not a Christian.
No.
Okay. Let me express this.
No, it's fine. I thought he was a Christian. That made no sense to me.
Let me make a point real quick though. If you're critical on this level, why are you trying to rescue Jesus to make him into?
That's why I thought he was Christian.
Okay, let me explain that. Because everything Jesus did was antithetical to the Jewish establishment. It was.
What do you mean? I'm not gonna take away a single jot or tittle of the law. Moses wrote about me. That type of stuff.
He didn't write that. The action
came for the lost sheep of Israel.
He didn't write anything.
Jesus, exactly. It's a
Wait,
zero sum. But his actions were all antithetical.
You deny that he said that? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that everything Jesus did was antithetical to Judaism.
How do you know what he did? How do you know what he did? You said that he didn't write anything. How do you know what he did?
No. I'm saying the Gospels. He didn't write anything. That's true.
I'm saying
right. But you're saying that one verse of him saying "I'm not here to erase the law" trumps the actions of him inverting the entire Abrahamic system, and all of Jesus past that is all Hellenistic solar deity.
Philo
he has more in common.
Man. You know who Philo is?
Yeah. No, I get that, but
I gotta go up to this. Hold on. I gotta go up to this. Do you know who Philo is?
Yes.
He's a Jew. He's a devout Jew, loves Judaism, but he also he allegorizes the Old Testament. He's more Hellenistic. He doesn't think that the temple is necessary. He is very much like how you get with Christianity, reinterpreting things.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you're not Jewish.
Can I mention something in relation to us being raised in cults, so to speak, Christian cults?
Sure, but I gotta go to the next guy after this.
Yep. Jesus was the model of how to escape Judaism, because it was a all-pervasive, you can never leave cult. He modeled that, and then he became the solar.
You gotta preface that though with temple Judaism. If you're saying that, then fine. I'll even go halfway and meet you there and say,
sure.
He's looking to the Christian model is looking to get away from the temple Judaism and towards a more worldly system. But it's escaping Judaism.
Would you say that he has more in common with the Hellenistic world throughout time than Judaism?
Yeah, but more like Philo, I would say. That's why Philo's
so important. Right. But that's what I think is important.
Yeah, this is not a black and white thing, though.
But it's zero sum because
Hellenistic or Jew. You can't be. It's not either or.
But I think pagans nowadays have to remember that you don't have to identify your paganism against Christianity the same way Satanists do. You know what I mean? I think that Jesus.
No, you're a paganist. So this is why you want Jesus to fit your idea.
Oh, I'm social engineering this. I think I'm a Jungian.
Yeah, but
I'm a Jungian.
That's what I'm saying. We're looking at it historically.
From a pagan perspective, though, they see the past as our entire past was destroyed by Christianity. We were forced to give up our temples and turn into churches. So of course they're going to have that attitude towards Christianity.
Right.
So I'm just
for sure.
But that doesn't matter as far as I just don't get why. What is this like? It just doesn't. If my goal was to try and get people to leave Christianity, to stop adopting Abrahamic faiths, which it seems that that's your intention, at least, is trying to help people leave the Abrahamic faith. It would not be trying to re-engineer him to make him European or something. It would be like stripping the whole rug underneath using historical critical method. No academic on the planet with a PhD in any institution will ever buy this hypothesis.
Let me ask you before you go, what do you think about when Jesus is at the well at the Samaritan woman and she says, "You Jews can't talk to us Samaritans," and he says to her, "You're right. Salvation is from the Jews." He literally calls himself a Jew, refers to himself as a Jew. You just think that verse is fake or something?
I don't think he was delineating the Gentile Jew thing, because I think if he was real, he was born into it.
Why would the Gospel of the authors write that in there if he wasn't Jewish?
It's the same thing as calling it the synagogue of Satan. There's a lot of duality in the Bible. There's a lot of clashing.
Answer my question though. Why would they call him Jewish if he's not Jewish?
Because what is Jewish is it's meant to be confusing. Are you racial?
No, it's not.
Is it cultural? It's very confusing.
Either you're Jewish or you're not. Either you're ethnically Jewish or you're religiously Jewish or you're not.
Okay, so if you had a kid with a Jewish woman and she raised him Jewish, and then he went through the rest of history saying he's Jewish, has your lineage not been hijacked?
No. Humans intermingle all the time, ever since the beginning.
But no other culture does that. No other religion does that.
Okay, I don't.
You can leave Christianity.
I don't know.
But your sons aren't going to say I'm a Christian because you left Christianity. But with Judaism,
right? It's not an ethnic based. It's not the social construct is not ethnic based as well as religious based. Got it. I agree with you, and I imagine pagans are the same way, right? I would imagine.
I don't know what that has to do with Jesus being Jewish, though.
because he was modeling the path out of Judaism. It was.
But this is sectarian. The Essenes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they're all fighting with each other. They're all trying to get each other to leave their sects. They're all Jews though.
Yeah.
One could easily see why this, if we took your interpretation, and listen, there are valid reasons to see particular ideas in the earliest Gospel of Mark as following Paul's playbook. Paul's playbook is to the Gentiles, right? So there's good valid reason to see a movement that's shifting toward the Gentiles. Okay. Mm-hmm. That would mean it's dominated in the literature, is being written by non-Jews who are writing this material. Why would they invent that he's a Jew? They don't have the same problem you have, is my point.
Wait.
They don't have the same issue.
Yeah.
Is Socrates not Greek anymore? Because he was actually trying to rebel against the religious the culture of the Greeks of the time, the Homeric. Plato too. Plato was rebelling against Homer and Hesiod, said that Homer's work should be, Heraclitus said Homer's work should be burned. Are they no longer Greeks anymore because they're trying to pull away from their culture and reform their culture?
So Greek isn't, synonymous with the religion, but I'm saying that Jesus wasn't. I'm saying Jesus could not be, or I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying it's possible Jesus could not ethnically be Jewish, at least from Mary.
But you're talking about him trying to get out of Judaism, which is a religion.
Now
it's ethnic.
It's
Jewish. So that makes no sense. Hold on, this is why it makes no sense. That would be like saying Socrates isn't ethnically Greek because Socrates was trying to rebel against the Homeric and Hesiodic pagan system that he was living under. It makes no sense.
So Judaism is designed to be something that takes over your sense of ethnicity. It's designed to take over your sense of ethnicity. This is why you have so many people of different genetics saying they're Jewish and
we went over the genetic stuff. They have the J1 chromosomes.
Yeah, but I think he's going down a different path with this, Neil. But look, we've got
people online. So
and thank you for calling in, though, and being. By the way, thank you for being decent in this conversation.
No. Listen, I love you guys. I want to say something. You guys are amazing. I love you. Thank you for your work. But remember that I think healing the bridge between paganism, Christianity is not going anywhere. And I think reframing Christianity to highlight its pagan Hellenistic virtues that it did carry is very important. And I think we can get away from the bad stuff.
There are a lot of pagan things we do need to highlight that predate Christianity and likely inspired it. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Man. Have a good one.
See ya.
Peace. Bye.
Data archaeologist, man. Who's next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Data archaeologist. You are next. And we'll do a couple more and then we'll do the super chats. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey guys, glad to finally meet you in person or virtually. Been a fan for a long time. You guys have taught me a lot, and I kind of wanted to not debate, but rather share something very revolutionary with you guys.
Sure.
So I was a big fan of Gad Barnea, and I went down this rabbit hole with Yahwist. And one thing led to another, and I went into the KTU, the Ugaritic KTU, and I started using AI to find patterns. And I found this structure of 18 guilds or 18 administrative titles times 4. So there's 4 lists of 18 lists. And if you multiply that out, you get 72, which is an important number. So the structure is everywhere.
Can I just pause you right there? What gave you the sense to multiply that out? Like, what was the reason? Is there a reason why you have 4 lists of 18? What made you go, maybe we should multiply it?
Well, if it's a labor structure, that's what it really is. It's guilds. There's different skill sets listed, like serpent or venom or pharmacon or scribe or whatever the case may be. So these are all job titles, and in each group there's 50 members. So if you multiply it out, you get 3,600 members per guild structure. And at the top you have a guild master. Now, why this is important is this number 4. This is the interesting part. So you have north, south, west, east. You have earth, fire, wind, and water. So that gives you your 4 all over the place. and you find these 18 everywhere when you look at it through with AI. And where should I take this? I don't want to reveal too much. I want to kind of just help you guys out a little bit. Anyway, this number is just everywhere. I don't know what questions you have for me.
Data, let me ask you this. So we did want this episode to be focused on Jesus.
And challengers, not agreeers. So
yeah, but hear me out.
So you have 4 gospels.
Can you email me and
let's
essentially lay this out? Because I feel like you've got something there's no way in the amount of time we have left to even dig into, and I'd need to sift through and see what you're saying and understand your arguments.
Yes.
Maybe you have some tablets you can also share images of in the
I have
email.
a lot of information.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. For
Send
sure.
that to us. We'll be curious to see what you have.
Appreciate that.
How do I get in touch?
I'll put my email.
My email's on my YouTube channel and the info. You can send me to him, and then Derek's sending his right now.
Yeah, and I wrote MythVision podcast at John.
So would you put in the private chat, Derek?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in there now.
Okay, and then mine's on my YouTube channel. So there you go.
Thank you so much.
I never knew that. I've tried to email you so much, Neil.
Oh, cool. Well, let me know what you got, and I'll definitely take a look at it. And then we got Willem Aarons next. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Data.
Right.
Have a good one.
Willem Aarons, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Yay! Well, I just said I chatted with Derek yesterday that I wanted to be on the program, and here I am.
William, we're talking about Jesus, and I'm not going to lie. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different people behind you that are waiting. What would you like to say about Jesus? And of course, we're going to do more of these kind of conversations, but is there anything on that topic that you can think of that might be relevant to this discussion?
Yeah, even though I was, that church I belong to, the New Apostolic Church, it's rather conservative and very traditional in a lot of its ways. We have our own variants on Christianity, like so many other sectarian churches that arose in the 19th century did. But one thing that always struck me was that there was not a lot of emphasis on that personal relationship with Jesus. And as I just wrote in the comment that I wrote to you during this steering, it really was more about the relationships built inside of the denomination.
I think that's better. We think that's more healthy. I would like to ask you a question, actually. I never got to speak to you here, and I think this is relevant to me and Neil. And then after that, if you don't mind, we'd like to get to the next caller, just because
Sure.
I don't want to leave everyone hanging here. You're coming from a church, I guess a specific type of Christian denomination. What do you find valuable in what me and Neil are doing on the channel? I'm really curious to know and hear from someone who isn't necessarily drawing the same conclusions as me and Neil.
Well, that's I find myself to be sort of bifurcated. Even when I've been an unsuccessful university student, and my personal life hasn't been all that tremendously successful. I'm married now, but it took me a long while to get into a stable relationship, and sometimes it's not all that stable. But that's beside the point. But the main thing is that my doubts, as long as with my belief, they've gone on simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And as I said, even about the transcendental idea about that, there were certain points in my life where I felt that active spiritual life. I know the one time was when I was confirmed, and then the other time was I was ordained as a deacon in a congregation. Actually, I was ordained twice. Once down in Texas, and another time up here in Canada. And I felt an exchange, not exchange, but sort of a spiritual experience, for lack of a better term, something that which was transcendental, but it was a laying on of hands in all three cases of an officiant on my head, So, and
well,
there were.
If I may, because it sounds like you've got a story, and I would be curious to hear what your story is. You got my email, right?
Yeah, it shows up on the stream, right?
I believe so. I'll put it in the private chat because I do these kind of deconstruction kind of stories. And you sound like someone who still holds on to something, but yet is deconstructed. Let's talk more about that when we have more time. I sent my email in the private chat right now. Please email me and let's connect outside of this stream. Just
well, that's true. But in my case, I would say rather than calling myself deconstructed, which sounds like somebody took a hammer to a building and broke it apart, I would consider myself more reconstructed.
Yeah. That's fine.
So I've had to look at things and reconsider everything, and I've come to certain conclusions which still allow me to participate. Though, and actually, the real sad thing in my case is that where I thought my opinions might not have been taken seriously, or even what might have even been thought as being outside of the church 50 years ago. Now the church itself has moved on closer to the person that I was 50 years ago.
Time keeps marching on, my friend. Email me. Let's connect. This episode, we're trying to get challengers and all that kind of stuff, talking about Jesus and all that. I really appreciate you, William, for being in the chat.
You're not going to get an argument from me, and I'm not going to condemn you to hell, okay? Or tell you you're going to get some horrible disease if you... because you don't feel the same way I do.
Thank you, William. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Yeah, sure, you have a wonderful evening. Bye. All
Vesper, thanks for waiting.
Vesper, welcome.
You are on.
Hello. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Is this the Vesper that has always been in the chats?
Yes, the one and only.
The one and only. Welcome. Nice. What's up? You got anything? Any challenges here, Vesper? Any?
But I got some ideas to share.
Okay.
I think probably one of the most important questions we can ask is, what sort of education did Jesus have?
Good question.
Right, because Christians will say, "Oh, he's just."
You're breaking up, Vesper.
But
you broke up
for a second.
From scholarship,
you said Christians will say, and then
he was probably a disciple of John the Baptist.
Can you hear me?
I don't know if you can hear us.
That's what the scholarly consensus is, right?
Are you there?
Yo, Vesper.
Vesper, can you hear us?
I'm not sure I can hear you guys.
Something must have happened.
Audio's glitching out.
Yeah, something clicked. You heard that, right?
Try to leave and come back. I guess leave, come back in.
I'm gonna have to join this.
We'll bring you back on after the next guy.
Yeah. Come on.
Right, cool.
All right.
Kevin Hogan.
Kevin!
And Vesper, if you can hear us, we'll bring you on again. And if you leave and come back in, because we couldn't hear you for a second, and then something happened. Anyways, go ahead.
Good day, guys. Couple of quick questions for you. Nina Livesey and Marcus Fissman, Gmerkin, Neil's study that he's done, exactly, about the Greek influence on the Old Testament especially. My question for you guys is, how has this type of scholarship changed your view of Jesus, say in the last 18 months, 2 years, not your first couple of years when I was watching you, but your last couple of years? Because it's really interesting to listen to you talk to now as opposed to then. So what do you think? How has it changed you?
The way I look at Nina is that I say, if she's right, this changes everything we need to think about Christianity 100%.
Yeah.
Because now we don't have anything before the temple falls. Now the question is Christianity legitimately trying to replace temple Judaism with a universalist, Rome-friendly type of Judaism? That makes a lot of sense. And then the question goes, well, if we don't even have letters before the Gospels from Paul or anybody, is the whole thing all mythological and legendary? Is the whole thing so I'm not sure if I'm ready to take that step, but I'm not discounting it at all.
I'll tell you what it does is the more you can tell we've learned a lot. We're still learning a lot. My confidence in being overly zealous about a new idea has really diminished. I mean, at one point, mind you, I went from fundamentalist to full-on blown kind of mythicist fundamentalist. Not necessarily fundamentalist, but like I was growing out of my fundamentalism during that phase, but it was like I was certain of my conclusions, it felt like. And then it's like almost a Dunning-Kruger. I was Dunning-Kruger for real. And now I feel like in my life, if I'm being fair to myself and I know where my future's going, I'm in that low valley right now. I'm in that that real research stage where I don't really know much at all. And I feel like over time, maybe my confidence will build even more. But it's people like Nina, it's people like Gad, it's people like Jonathan, it's people like that come in and throw a curveball, and you want to go, hey, you messed up my dinner. But at the same time, they brought you a new meal, and you're like, thank you. And also, like, this is so cutting edge and interesting, but yet will it be convincing to the rest of the field? And will it ever be convincing? Because this is not like biology. This is not like a harder science that we can really measure and test and be able to really, really know. It's so much softer, and it sucks. I wish we had a more confident, certain way of being able to be like, we could prove it, you know? And it's, but with the evidence we have right now, I'm like, I love these scholars. I try not to get too attached to any hypothesis, because I have had to rip it from my own hands and go, I gotta, you know, I'm not convinced now. And it hurts. It hurts to change your ideas when you're so, I don't know how to describe it. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No,
it's a great answer. Can I follow up on one?
Please.
Sure.
So, Neil, I've really enjoyed your sort of journey that you've had with the, you know, learning Greek. Seriously, learning Greek. You know, you freaking went and did it. Derek's equivalent is he's willing to talk to everybody all the time and be able to be open and totally believably interested, even if the guy he totally is out of Derek's wheelhouse. You aren't quite that way. So my question first goes over to Neil. Neil, you and I really agree very much on the 2nd century issues for New Testament and the pre or post 290-ish Ptolemaic era. How has that shifted your conversations with people who don't watch you on YouTube, but around the house, friends, people who you used to know? Like, that's a conversation, man. So how is that working?
Yeah, because most lay people, like especially people who don't even have even they don't even touch this stuff. They can go years without even anyone even having a conversation about biblical stuff. You know, secular people. They just most people who I talk to like that, they think, you know, Moses probably did write something. Like literally, I'm not kidding. Like the Bible is like 2000 BC. Like they think this stuff. Like they have no idea that this stuff is all written later and post-dated. So it's kind of interesting when you tell people this stuff and they're like, really? I didn't know that. So anyways.
Yeah. And Derek, you talk with people, you know, like Gad and people, the gentleman who wrote Josephus, the Jesus Josephus book, real nice guy who I totally disagreed with everything, but you were really like, you were the true journalist. You were digging right into every single thing that he believed and perceived, and you were really good at it. I mean,
thank you.
By the end of the show, I was like, I think he just got converted, you know, and it was really cool. Because when you started this, your skill level at interviewing people was nothing compared to what it is now. You're actually like a really good journalist now.
Thank you.
How do you see yourself having changed, like in that journey, especially in understanding Jesus?
Well, that's two questions in one. The way I interpreted the first part was just in my mind, it's like, first of all, I try not to talk as much now. I try to let them talk more. I'm a student. I have to remind myself I'm a student, and I love to learn this stuff. And what was the last question? The latter part of that last question is about Jesus. Yeah.
How does your journalistic style now? Because you used to talk from the very much like I was an alcoholic and this is my journey. I was a Calvinist. I had these beliefs, boom, which puts you right back in the frame of, you know, who these people that taught you were. And now you've come out of that. Most of the time you're like, let's talk about you, your story, your experience. And it really plays differently on YouTube for sure. So my question is how has this sort of style changed how you view Jesus? Because I noticed a distinct difference along the way.
I mean, I think it's just the massive amount of knowledge that you start to gain. You learn new ideas from so many different scholars, and I think that is reflecting. I don't see it myself. You know, you don't notice your nose and eyebrows growing over the years and your ears getting bigger. And, you know, you might barely notice them, but I think it's just I'm so, just zoomed in and continuing to learn. And I think it because we do this almost every day, people who are observers will see what I don't see, but I know that I just got to keep going. And I imagine if you do something long enough, you get better at it as long as you're willing to learn. And that's what I've been trying to do, and I'm going to keep doing. And Kevin, thank you for calling. I mean, this has been, thank you for the super chats earlier too. We got 1, 2, 3. We got several people waiting behind you. Yeah. I'd love to have you come back again sometime.
Take care, you guys. Have a great day.
Kevin,
enjoy.
Kevin.
You rock. Thank you. Yeah, I have questions for Kevin, obviously.
Vesper did come back, and it was technically his turn, so I'm just going to bring him back up, and then Graham Pong's after that.
Okay.
Vesper, what's going on? You got your things working now?
It might be the second Vesper.
There's 2 of them. Let me try the next one. Hey, Vesper, you there?
There it is.
You there?
Vesper. Something's going on with his audio. Damn.
Can you hear us? I don't know, man. All right, well, we tried. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Vesper.
I'll try you again. I'll try you again after this one, and maybe it'll work after this one. I'll try you again. Graham Pong, you're on next.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's been a minute or 3.
Hey, Graham.
I'll try to do my best to be a poor Vesper impersonation until he can get his audio working.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to throw this. I kind of have a theory that's been developing, and I've thrown some of it at Neil. And this part, you guys wanted to focus on the Jesus. And I do have to say that you have to resolve, that Judaism issue before you really wrestle with the Jesus. But I'm just focusing on the Jesus part. And I took the approach of the one thing that we can be fairly certain of is what I call churchianity from Constantine on. And before that, it becomes a muddled mess because of what I call the blender that was Nicaea, where whatever the Christianities existed before that, they basically threw it into Nicaea and ended up with one homogenized version afterwards. So it's basically we're trying to piece together, this puzzle before that. And I look at it as you have the picture on the top of the box, and then you have the pieces like the linguistics and, the archaeology and all of that as the pieces that you have to fit together. And you kind of have to do both of them against each other. And I see the Jesus thing as I ended up, I walked away from the whole Christianity thing in the mid-'80s, and I got dragged back into it 30 years later via the trying to research the vanishing ninth Roman Legion up in Scotland. And, that ended up totally pulling me into the whole Christian issue. But I look at it as, kind of like the men wrestling with the elephant. And you have the various researchers that are trying to put together their theories, and that's what I'm working with. And I'm trying to split the difference between, you got Kuroda with this Julius Caesar, got Henry Davis, with Vespasian, you got Ballas and Atwell in there as well. Ralph Ellis, I'm not even sure what his exact theory is, but I love a lot of the research he does. And
I think he's terrible. I think it's awful. I think he just makes stuff. I think he just talks out of his ass. That's what I think.
Well, here's the way I look at it, Neil. I look at it as he's uncovering facts that I don't have. The way he puts those facts together into a narrative, no, I don't agree with what he's coming up with.
Well, you say things theories. Like Izates, his name is Isis. That's just a lie. It's not even true. He was never called Isis in any single primary source ever. So.
Oh yeah, I understand that, but he's digging up stuff, and I have to say he has something going on with the relationship between Comanche and Helena in Jerusalem, and there's something going on in that general mix.
Yeah, she was considered a queen of she was considered their queen. Like she's buried there in Jerusalem. I saw her tomb when I was in Israel. There's not.
Yeah, and the palace.
That's not. He didn't just uncover that though. That's everyone knows that.
Well, the relationship between that one and the Bible, and he's putting together pieces in ways. It's like I appreciate the effort, even if I don't agree with the results. It's like a noble failure is much better than just kind of treading water. And
I
where
put him
I
in the
ended,
same camp as Amon Hillman. That's what I put him. It's just full of shit.
oh, that's fair enough. And with Amon,
that's fair.
Amon, I still remember the first time you had him on there, and I sent him an email afterwards where he showed me a major hole in, my worldview of the ancients, and that was the role that snake venom and the psychedelic aspect of snake venom played in rituals back then. And I had gone through some of the same text that he had when I was doing researching, abortifacients in the ancient world. And
so
again,
Graham,
yeah.
we do have 4 people waiting.
Okay.
But if you want to throw something at us, before
I'm throwing it now, Derek. Where I'm coming from is,
well, we did get a disagreement with Ralph. That was good.
Yeah,
I actually that was a nice.
I want to say something positive. Let me say it this way. I think that many of the people you named were stepping stones in terms of my journey, and for that, I'm grateful in my life for coming across some ideas. But as you get closer and start finding out their actual PhDs, they're actual experts in the field who know languages and things like that, and you start to disagree with some of the stepping stones that you came from. So if you want to throw something at us, though, before we let you
absolutely go. I will say I don't necessarily have the same trust in the academy that you do. I trust scholars. Academics is a little more political than I'm trying to say is I ended up where Friedrich Schleiermacher did, where it's the basically many Jesuses, one Christ. And that's where you have the cosmic one. And it's the idea that the Christ is an archetype of kenosis, of self-sacrifice. And you have various individual human Jesuses that partake in the archetype. And you have that over the years where you could have, that's where you could have a Julius Caesar doing so, partaking in it as one area. You can have Vespasian in another one. And I find that as Schleiermacher's architecture as a very strong one in trying to make sense of the overall puzzle. What do you guys think of that? The one Christ, cosmic Christ, many Jesuses.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. If I'm being completely honest with you, Graham, I don't want to be making statements about something I haven't read.
Well, yeah,
myself.
I'm just off base of what you said. It sounds interesting. I never.
Oh, he's from the 1700s. This is old school. I'm not making it up.
Right. Yeah. No. We know you're not. I'm saying I haven't read it, and Neil's saying it sounds interesting what you said. I think it's something worth reading and checking out, and I'd be interested to see what he says. You're bringing up something I don't know about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the fun part.
That's what I try to do. If you guys already know it, you don't need me to bring it up.
We're preaching to the choir, right? Yeah. That was interesting. I need to check that out, Graham.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks guys. Keep up good work.
Talk to you soon. See you.
Bye.
Next, we got Peter.
Peter
looks like a Christian, maybe. I'm guessing. No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me, Derek, and Gnostic. Thanks for having me. I've always enjoyed your videos. I got into you with Russell Merkin because I was looking up Greek history, and then I saw Russell's video on MythVision, and I've been glued ever since.
Yeah.
Now, no, I'm not a Christian. I'll probably say I'm maybe a pantheist or something like that.
Okay.
But what I've been looking into is, so my opinion of Jesus is that the previous caller said about how Mary wasn't Jewish, right? And I think I'm on the same page as well. But the thing is this, we'll just stick to sort of one topic. So John, right? John's the one that it kind of pushes him being Jewish when he's talking to the Samaritan woman.
Yeah.
But what's confusing about that, the first thing I noticed is that a couple of weeks ago on MythVision, there was a video about Revelation, and it sounded like that Jesus was being added later on.
Yeah, you're talking about James Tabor interview, right?
Yeah, and he was saying that you could read Revelation and that he got his students to rewrite it without Jesus, and it kind of still makes sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that in John, so Jesus says to the Samaritan woman, first he says that, so she said that he's the Messiah, or that she's the one they're waiting for, and then Jesus says, yes, I am he, right? But she's a Samaritan woman. So him saying yes to a Samaritan woman, it's kind of like saying he's their Messiah, right? And it wouldn't make sense, right? Because
that's kind of what's so profound about it, is that he's actually going It references how he's not supposed to be there. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think he's a different Messiah. I don't think he's the Judaic Messiah. And I think what's happening is that the gospel writers are,
what other
pushing
Messiah
him.
is there? What other Messiah is there but the Jewish Messiah?
Well, the Samaritan one as well. They had their own Messiah.
Okay. But why wouldn't it be a universal everyone Messiah from the Jews?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. Yeah, I agree with
okay.
that. I think it's a universal one.
Saying.
No, I
That's
think
what everyone-
so. What I think is happening with the Gospels, like I think as the Gospels get edited or created, as it goes on and on, they get less and less non-Jewish, if you want, or non-Davidic, right? Because like you have Mark and Matthew, they're the first ones. But when you get to Luke and John, that's when it's really
more
in your
Gentile
face.
friendly. Sure.
No, not the opposite. The opposite.
I
think
I disagree
because
with that.
yeah, that's fair enough. But I know. But what sticks out to me is that
Luke and John are way more to the Gentiles than Matthew and Mark is.
I understand that's a consensus, but let me just so with John, Jesus is saying that like he's going to replace the Samaritan rule and he's going to replace the Judean rule with a new one, right?
But look, and then look what happens in the same text. You Samaritan woman, she goes, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan." I know. It's right there.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, with the Samaritan woman, she doesn't know much about. She doesn't know who he is, right? She just saw a man coming out of Judea, and so it can be said that.
But then the author says, "For Jews do not associate with Samaritan." The author is saying,
"Yeah,
this is not like a historical text."
I don't get
why.
She's saying that. I don't get the. Maybe Neil knows more about this. Why is this even a thing? I don't get why this is even
I'm just trying to study the text. It's regardless of why it's a thing, it doesn't matter.
Well, no, I'm asking why there's a thing, and
the truth is in the text, right? It's right here.
I'm talking
Jews
about
do not associate with Samaritans.
People who are thinking Jesus wasn't a Jew. I don't understand.
Hold on a second. But you're saying
it's not important.
You're saying the author wrote. Hold on a second. You're saying the author wrote this, but we're supposed to assume Jesus is just the woman that's saying this, and Jesus is just going along with it.
No, she doesn't know much about him. Like all she saw was a man coming out of Judea, right?
Maybe he's wearing something Jewish.
Maybe
but we don't know. That's an assumption. We're making an
assumption. You know that this woman even met him. I mean,
the author.
Well, that's right.
The author John is writing this decades later.
Yeah, of course.
We can't psychoanalyze. She doesn't know him. Maybe she's wrong about him. The author is giving us this information about him being a Jew.
Of course.
So it doesn't matter what she thinks or
the
what.
Author
thinks it's not really. The author's just. He's saying that's what I mean by as the Gospels age, right? As they become later and later, more of this Judaic identity is being applied to him, right? Like Luke,
Matthew's the most Jewish, dude. Matthew's.
Yeah, I know, but that's
Mark
Luke and John.
Like,
too. Yeah, but the thing is, but just to bring it back is that living a Judaic life doesn't necessarily mean you're of the line of David, because I mean the Hasmoneans did have a policy of conversion, right? It was the law. It wasn't like you chose to be it. Like you had to do it or you were exiled. So that could be a sort of an indication that.
Look at this. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, talking about Mount Gerizim, but you Jews, talking about Jesus, claim that the place must be in Jerusalem. He responds,
but she doesn't know him.
I'm just holding. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Women, he says, the time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on the mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know. For salvation is from the Jews. He calls himself a Jew.
I understand that, and that's why, just to bring it back to that Revelation video, it does seem right, like the author of John. Like I'm not saying it's, I was about to say it's not gospel, but like John is. I'm not taking it. I'm treating it as.
You're saying this is an interpolation? Right? You think this is an interpolation?
Perhaps, because it does seem like.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because
this is essential to the text.
Yeah, I know, but it seems
doesn't make sense if he's not Jewish.
Okay, well, I'll explain why.
The whole point of John 4 is a Jew and a Gentile coming together, a Jew and a Samaritan, a Jew and a Samaritan coming together under one Messiah. That's the whole point. It doesn't make sense if Jesus is not Jewish. It doesn't. This chapter needs to go if it is not. If he's not Jewish.
It still makes sense, right? Because you
No.
can read it as a. Well, I'll explain.
It doesn't, my
All right,
friend. This is the second time someone's come up with this, and
This you guys. No, this is the problem. You guys are just like making it fit. Like you guys are taking square pegs, sticking them into a round hole. That's an interpolation. I don't think he really wrote that. No way. There's no. Well, it makes sense without it. No, man. This is not how evidence. This is not good methodology. It doesn't work that way. You can't just say things are interpolations because you don't like them.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think
I'll give you some time to explain it.
Yeah, you should get final word here. We've got 3
Yeah.
more people we need to hit, and then we got to hit super chats, Neil, and then I got dinner.
Any last thoughts on that? You there? Maybe his mic came out too.
All right. Well, let's move on because we got very limited time. It just seems like we're repeating.
Well, I don't. At least we have someone to argue
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
You know,
No,
the
I
only
get
people
it.
disagreeing is
Again, before you bring the next
it is
caller,
so
I
low.
don't.
It's so low IQ. I know.
There's something going on that I'm clearly not aware
he can't
of.
be Jewish. He's not Jewish.
I don't get it.
He can't be
I don't
Jewish.
get it.
Like that's how you guys come off to me. It looks weird because you're like just denying the text right in front of you. You're just saying it says he's Jewish. Well, what if it's an interpolation? It still makes sense. No, it doesn't.
And by the way,
the whole chapter of John 4 does not make any sense if Jesus wasn't Jewish. No sense at all.
Just so people know, James Tabor furthest conclusion from the truth that he would say, oh, they interpolated it because originally Jesus wasn't Jewish. They're using this idea that James's letter, for example, he mentions the name Jesus twice. And James Tabor said in the letter of James, first chapter and second chapter, the name Jesus comes up one time in the whole letter. He did say, if you removed the name Jesus and you translated the Greek into Hebrew, went and read it in a synagogue, they would not know you're reading New Testament. Okay, it's right. Jewish.
But John, James, you can't say that about John.
I know.
It doesn't work that way. She's literally calling him a Jew, and he's literally saying, "Yes, I'm a Jew."
I know.
Unless the whole chapter is an interpolation, then what are you doing? You sound like an idiot. You sound really stupid.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't.
So the next person was Gatis. Was that?
I think so.
Okay, Gatis, you are next. You there? Gatis Abramovics, are you there? Oh, okay. Well,
next one.
Sorry about that. We couldn't hear you. So we'll go to the next person. Paulo Pereira. What's going on, Paulo?
Hey, Paulo.
Hello, you. Thank you for all your work. I have learned a lot from both of you and also from Jacob from History Valley. I think I solved the enigma of what is Yeshua and Christianity, but I would like to talk with both of you three, if it's possible, to present my theory. Basically, my theory is that Christianity is the new Judaism. It's nothing. It's not a very complicated thing. It's the new Judaism for all the empire for Rome, and all the New Testament is rhetoric. Nothing is historical. It's all written in a way that to present the point. So the idea to create a new branch of Judaism that is the Nazarenes. That so the Acts of the Apostles more or less if it is read in the right way can show us what they want to do with and all the New Testament was written from the same small group of 3 or 4 people. That's my
if you could possibly email us this in your hypothesis in more depth, like so that we can actually evaluate what your claims are, that might be different, because I think it's I don't know many critical scholars who would disagree with the idea that Christianity is trying to say they're the most authentic continuity with Judaism, that they're the real Jewish movement in Acts. That seems to be the goal in Acts specifically, Luke Acts. So if you have some radical different thing, email us the information.
Yes, I think I know who wrote the texts and why. Why is the reason is to create the new true Judaism for Rome. and who write them. I think I know who they are, and I think the order of the text also is first Matthew, then Luke, then Paul letters, then Acts, then Revelation, then John. Gospel.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you should probably write a paper, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes. I have more or less the paper, but I would like to discuss that with both of you three, if it's possible.
Yeah,
please
man.
do.
Thanks for jumping on here. I appreciate that.
My email's in the private chat over here.
Yeah,
and
yeah, definitely.
Where it is
on the private chat inside the StreamYard on the private chat. So you can find it
on the right of the screen. You'll see it.
Yeah. It's also on, you can find it everywhere. mythvisionpodcast@gmail.com. It's simple.
I cannot see it.
Private chat's on the right side of the screen. It says private chat.
Yep.
So,
and if you just need to remember it, mythvision at gmail.com.
Oh, you just froze.
Yeah.
I think you
By
froze.
the way, one more, Neil. Let's get the super.
All right, Paul, you froze, so I'll say goodbye to you, Paul. Thanks for joining on here, man. Talk to you later. All right, MCS. Thanks for joining, man. What's going on? MCS, you there? Oh, he's muted. Yeah, you muted. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. How are you?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's a big pleasure. It's a big pleasure to be with you guys. I'm fine. Just to say, I come from North Africa and I'm an apostate. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're my friend.
Be careful.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on a topic that I saw that a scholar came on and spoke about Islam, but he said some things that were like being put as good things, but actually he left out the bad things of it. For instance, he mentioned Aisha, which is the wife of the Prophet, which he married at the age of 6 and slept with and consumed at the age of 9. And he forgot to say that Aisha has a book. She has her own diary.
Are you talking about the last scholar I had on, Ahmed Al-Jalad?
Not the recent one. Not the recent one. Not the one you posted today or yesterday. No, not this one.
I have no clue which one that is, my friend. But yeah, I don't remember exactly which interview this is.
Yes, and I would like to share with you a book that a lot of Muslim apologists they really never want to talk about. I have it in Arabic, unfortunately, but there's a book that was written in the 2nd year of Hijrah.
Interesting. Okay.
And in that book, it recounts all the habits or sexual habits that they say that the Arabic golden era. Yeah, they say
the Abbasid dynasty.
Yeah, the golden era of Arabics after the 2nd year of Hijrah. It states. Particularly, it states the habits, the sexual habits, and it's disgusting. It talks about sleeping with young.
Be careful. We're on YouTube.
You know, but this is written black and white.
I understand, but YouTube doesn't care. Trust me.
Yeah.
Just be
okay, sorry.
I would love. In fact, you know what? You got my curiosity, my friend. Can you please email me this, because I really want to see what you discovered, because it keeps getting worse. So humans are something. So in the private chat, I'm putting my email's like 4 or 5 times in the private chat already.
Okay, let's do that. And I would thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you. For,
Thank you.
Be safe.
Have a good one.
You too.
We got to do these super chats before you go, right?
Yeah, we have to. We have to.
You can't just leave people hanging like that.
No, I really do appreciate it. This has been a blast. We got to do this again. We got to do this
man.
again.
Where was the last one you left off on? So here we have this one was the last one. So
are you sure?
And then this one's we haven't done yet. See the book on institutional grammar I've linked.
Yeah, we did do that one. No, we did. We did Toronto was next.
Okay.
We did AA meetings was next. Kevin, we got Kevin. Thank you again, Kevin.
Oh, yeah,
Kevin
that's right. That's right. That's right.
And we got this one. This one we didn't get. Jesus was.
No, we did this one. We did this one.
Did we?
Yeah, that was the last one. So, yeah, I said I hard disagree. I think he did start a religion. He was trying to get people to follow him.
Okay,
yeah.
You must have.
Thank you for that super chat, though.
Yep. Okay.
The next one is. Oh, we did this one too. Yeah, that was this. Okay, this was the last one. Okay,
got
it. And Andy Houting Aling 639. Thank you for the 5. Neil and or Derek, any literature recommendations for works that extensively catalog the parallels between Bible and earlier mythology? Bruce Loudon, obviously. Yeah. Russell Gummerkin is just look up Russell Gummerkin on Amazon. He's got a few with Genesis, Manetho, Plato, the Hebrew Bible, that stuff. That's a good one. Argonauts in the Desert.
I need to write one. I already planned on writing one because I've been putting so many of these documentaries and so many, just because of these questions, these super chats. Because, if I have to name 8 books for you to even get like 5 examples to dive deep into, and it's like we really need something that you can go, hey, this book has like all of these observations, and I'm not making them up, which there's plenty of books you can go probably on Amazon today with AI out now, where they just are making connections up and writing books or throwing them out there. But like they're based on rigorous observations from philologists and like people who really have a skill. And just that alone would be a Bible-sized book of material. And I feel like it's needed. Yeah,
it is. But there's a lot out there already though. Bruce Loudon. Wait, I know I'm missing something big. Dennis McDonald.
Yeah, Dennis is all into the Greek stuff.
Yeah, so
Loudon is into the Greek stuff and Old Testament as well as New Testament.
I would start there. That's what I would say. Those are the ones I would recommend right now. So.
Those are fun. Yeah. There's also looking at Mesopotamian stuff and Canaanite stuff too. Yeah. So, that's a no-brainer. But I do like getting into the Greek comparisons as well. You know me. Okay. Yeah.
But anyways, I actually, for the Mesopotamian stuff, I have a few books over here that do that. Anyways, whatever. Yeah. That's what I would start with.
Here's this too. This is a good one to check out. It's called it's Robert Graves, of course, author of the Greek myths, and Raphael Patai, Hebrew Myths, the Book of Genesis. It's a little older, but it's still cool. And I think that'd be a fun.
James Prickard, The Ancient Near East, Anthology of Text and Pictures. And all throughout here, it's constantly telling you like there's a lot of commentary on its relationship to the Hebrew Bible and stuff like that.
This one right here specifically engages Jesus by Dennis McDonald. Mythologizing Jesus. It's an easy read. It's fun. I thought I was tearing up at the end. He asks his grandson, now that you've seen the connections and you've seen both Odysseus and Jesus, which one should you be like? Or no, he says, which one do you like better? He goes, I like the Greek story way better, Papa. And then he goes, but which one should you act more like? And he's like, I should act like this one right here, where he's not killing everybody and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So it was really interesting at the end. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I would start there, and then you'll be able to find more after that on your own once you start getting through those ones. Yeah. So thank you for that super chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see, what was that? Where
Victor
are we?
Engelman.
Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Victor Engelman. Jesus is circumcised Luke 2:21. Exactly. Like, what is that? That is interpolation too now? Like, is there anyone else in the first century that circumcises their children on the 8th day of their birth or their life?
I don't know anyone.
I just don't understand. People are so adamant that he's not Jewish somehow.
If I may ask, because I really am caught off guard by this. I really do not know what is going on behind.
They want Christianity because Christianity is so central to Western civilization,
Right.
and they see it as like our culture, they don't want it to be Jewish. They want it to separate it from Judaism. They don't like Jews. That's what it is.
So it's that simple.
Yeah.
Instead of just
And
going,
look, if you really hate Jews that much, just don't be a Christian.
yeah, I mean,
seriously.
why? God, that's
because you can't do like. Look, does Christianity throughout history, is it constantly engaging in anti-Jewish pogroms and yes, but same with when you look at the Maccabee period, you have the whole sectarian. The high priest Jason was Hellenizing, and then he was being fought against the.
No, dude, he was a Greek. He was a Greek.
Yeah.
He was not Jewish.
The high priest Jason?
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about.
I
was like, what?
kid with you.
Yeah.
Notice what I did there.
Listen, the reason why I actually took it seriously because Josephus says his name was Jesus or Yeshua, but he said he uses the Greek Jesus. So he says his name was Jesus, but he wanted to be so Hellenized that he changed his name to Yason, Jason. So like this is already this happens in Judaism. This happens in all different cultures. There's always sects and denominations, and they fight against each other. So it's not a black and white thing. These issues are not black and white. Like that's why I bring up Socrates or Plato. These people were reformers.
I think it is pretty black and white that the evidence points to Jesus being a Jew. Okay, I'm going to.
No, that's black and white. But I'm saying the idea that if Jesus is fighting against the Pharisees, that makes him not Jewish. That's nonsense because Plato was reforming against Greek culture. He hated Homer. He hated Hesiod. He thought some of the poets were degenerates. He wanted to replace all of Greek culture that led up to that time with something more Platonic, but something more Socratic and rational. And this is what Nietzsche gets into, how Plato ruined the world and stuff like that. But this doesn't make him not a Greek. He's still a Greek. So it's just like, and Virgil borrows from Homer, but he's still a Latin. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. It seems like a conspiracy theory in light of real social issues in the world today, and it's interesting. It's just not.
I like arguing about it. I actually like when they call in. I like this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, look, we didn't have any crazy, absolutely rude person, but it's like it really is. You got to go back to the drawing board. This isn't working, in my opinion. I just don't.
It looks so low IQ. It looks so bad.
Yeah.
And then the weird thing is when you ask a straightforward question, hey, is there any primary sources of Mary being not Jewish? You'll get. The thing is though, Judaism is weird. Like you can't get a straight answer to a straight question. You get some sort of like, oh, I don't want to think about, like, it's almost like their brain is like it's like doing this thing where, oh, I just got a question that's going to shatter my entire worldview.
And they have to
escape mode. They have to think of some way to get out of it.
And it's
kind of weird to watch.
What I would like to do for these people that I think are sincere. I don't want this to be a jab as if they're not maybe somehow convinced for real and are honest in what they believe. But I would like to give them an alternative path based on actual education and actual like real historical methodology. I know, I'm just saying, maybe there's a few sitting on the fence.
Maybe there's a few that will. Yeah, sure.
Goes, hey, hold on. So if I'm that adamantly not a fan of Christianity or this idea, I'm not going to like reinvent the wheel and pretend that the evidence doesn't suggest this. Maybe I find out that it's loaded mythology and legend and it didn't.
But here's the thing, Derek. Most of the people that I engage with on this topic are Christians.
Oh,
it's called CI.
Well, now we're screwed.
You ever heard of CI?
Yes, Christian identity. Yes.
And they think he has to be some Aryan.
Okay, they're screwed. Yeah, that's so they got to find out some other way. You can't.
Derek, I debated one of these people one time, and you know what he said to me in Paul's what is it? Is it Philippians? I think it is, where he says, "There's no Jew, there's no Gentile." There's no male, there's no female, there's no slave, no Scythian. You know what he said to me?
What did he say?
That you're not reading that correctly. What Paul is saying is that the Scythians are the chosen people.
Dude,
that's how he read the chapter.
Yeah, you can't help that. You cannot. There's no help.
It's brain scattered stuff. We're talking. Oh my God, you're so dumb. That's what we're talking about. Anyways.
Okay. Well, I was speaking for people who were obviously maybe sincere. And if they are sincere even in that, I would just say reassess your whole world, look in the mirror, do some real serious research. Home Rose, thanks for becoming a member. Really, really appreciate it. Pat in the house. Damn, I'm late to the party for tonight's live. You missed it. You missed it, Pat.
Yeah.
You missed it. Neil suplexed 8 people. I came behind the stone cold stunner. I'm just kidding. We had a blast. Andy Hugh, Houseling, you tried to say this earlier too.
Haddad rules.
Thank you. Pat says, oh yeah, thank you for that. Pat 907 says, Derek, I'm watching old clips of you and Josh Bowen. That's like 5 years old, man. Time is flying, homie. Anyway, I am diligently catching up on your old stuff. If you can catch up to where we're at today, you're probably the first who's done it all. It all. Thank you, Pat. Platots, the Samaritans were Jews. They just thought they should worship on Gerizim and that only a version of the Torah was authentic. This is an important point. They claimed, right, to be from the very same people group, Israel. They're just in Gerizim region. And yes, there was beef in scripture. And I'm sure these people will hijack this. And
that's another thing that this other person wasn't really, I don't think they understood this, or if they're trying to say Samaritan makes you a European somehow. Because like, let's say that person that called in was correct, that this chapter 4 is actually saying that Jesus is the Samaritan Messiah. He's still a Jewish Messiah then.
Right.
It's not a Gentile. He's not a European.
Right, Israel, because they claim to be Israelites.
They claim to be Israelites.
There was beef between the Jews. The Jews ultimately goes back to this. Jew, right? Where we get this idea where they're at the land.
That's what Judah is, yeah.
The history comes from this idea in scripture. And there's a real historical precedent for this, that the people in Judah, when they returned back to the land,
it was Benjamin, Judah, and the Levites.
Right. Only 3 groups, the priest and 2 groups that were from that land.
Priest and 2. Yeah.
When they came back, there were people in the land that they claim were actual Assyrians that were placed from a different location into the land. Therefore, they weren't authentically actual Israelites. And so this, I'll call it propaganda / beef between 2 groups. One is saying the other group's not authentic and they're not really from this land. They've been brought in due to Assyria and all of that. That trickles down all the way into the New Testament, which is why there's still a beef on Samaritans. And isn't it ironic, the contradiction we find? Matthew says, he says, don't go to the Samaritans and don't go to the Gentiles. Rather go only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's talking about the Jews. Only go to the Jews. And then the Great Commission happens after his death. That's a pretty explicit statement for Jesus to say, only go to Jewish people, to the Jew first, then to the Greek. And it's like, what's going on?
The DNA results of Samaritan people strongly suggest that they are actually related to ancient Israelites. That's what the DNA. But these people deny this. They just go, we don't care what that's run by Jews too. Like they deny the science, they deny the primary sources, they deny everything, and they just make up whatever they want to be true. It's almost pointless to talk to people like that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Because they just say what they want. Yeah. They just say whatever you want is true. Whatever I want is true. That's it.
Exactly. Zippo49 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that support, my friend. Gratis Abramovics. Thank you. Cook Arthur B has 3-volume books on Zeus, real good myth studies. Also, would y'all entertain this idea? Jesus was a way to deal with one temple breakdown in Rome, from Zeus to multiple gods and back.
Jesus was a way to deal with one temple breakdown in Rome. You mean like they're roaming now? Is that what they're saying? I think I get what they're. The grammar is a little weird. I don't think they're talking about Rome as Roman Empire.
That's why I thought it was a misspell.
I think they're saying the temple broke down and now they're roaming, and so Jesus is the temple, but he's the temple of everyone that's in the diaspora. Yes.
Oh,
that's what I would. Great. That's a great question. If that's what you meant, that's a great question. Because he represents the new temple, which is universal. Everywhere. It doesn't have to be. And this goes back to Philo's theology. This is why Philo's is a big deal, because this idea is pre-70. This idea is pre-70, but the establishment of it makes sense after 70.
Yeah, and one could argue that after the Roman Jewish War, some of this theology we find in the New Testament of this universalizing, oh, you worship on that temple, we on that hill, we worship on this one. It'll be everywhere, right? That's exactly the passage in John 4. That could just be simply also a reaction to the war that happened. And it's like, listen, we need to stop having these temples and these very specific locations for worship. We need to just make it anywhere and everywhere, because the devastation to the God of Israel that happened by Rome in that situation, the Romans believed they killed Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just sacrificing Jesus as Christians do in their atonement. We're talking about the God of Israel was dead. They killed him.
And he hasn't been back since.
That's how they see it.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough stuff.
It's pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, carrying all of his ornaments out of his sanctuary and everything.
Do you know, Derek, that right before Muhammad, in around 602, 603, there was a Jewish Messiah claimant from Babylon who came and tried to he had a bunch of Persians behind him that backed him up to fight against the Romans. He went to sack Jerusalem and failed and got killed. So right before Muhammad, there's another Messiah claimant who fails.
It never ends.
Yeah, and then obviously we know about Julian the Apostate. He actually wanted to let the Jews build their third temple just to get at the Christians, and then it never materialized.
My gosh!
So there was a few times where they tried to make it work, it just never worked. And right now they're trying to still do it.
It's so wild, bro.
It's wild.
Dan Dave RC, thank you for the super chat. They don't like Jews. They want to portray Jesus as someone who saw the truth of Jews and started a new religion. That is what Nazis did. Both Judaism, Christianity are false, but still central to the West. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, is there some truth to the idea that Christianity's through Jesus's figure in the Gospels, like where obviously they're written by someone else, and maybe he didn't say it, maybe he did. Maybe all his quotations are all fake, maybe they're not. But the point is, whatever we have now from the Gospels, from the epistles, from the church fathers, is there some truth to the idea that they are anti-Jewish? Yes. They're not like, oh, the Jews are our brothers in arms. No, they're not. They're like, oh, they rejected Jesus. They're going to face the consequence. Yes, that is true. Mm-hmm. People need to be aware of that. But they still are coming out of a tradition of the Israelite prophets, the Jewish Maccabees, the temple. They're still coming out of that tradition. They just see that there's two directions going. Christianity goes in one direction,
right,
and then Talmudic, Rabbinic Judaism goes in another direction.
Right.
They're both post 70 AD kind of things that happen. So, like, yes, they have an opposition to each other, but they're both from the same origin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I would put it.
Yeah, and again, the idea that it's central to the West. I mean, historically, yeah, this has been the religious tradition dominated by people in the West. It's sad that we're in this predicament that they feel that they have to do these kind of crazy things,
Michael, what's his name? A philosopher, I forgot this guy's name. One of my favorite philosophers. He says that the Western tradition goes through Jerusalem and Athens. And as much as I oppose Judeo-Christianity, he's right. It's just undeniable. It's just true. Jerusalem is one pillar, Athens is the other pillar.
Yeah. Mr. MR Anderson, thank you for the super chat. Wait, Jesus was a Jew? Cue Adam Sandler, please, Derek, with all the emails you'll be getting after this one. Don't miss mine. Good video today. God bless both of you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, Dan Dave RC, thank you for the super chat. Christianity originated in a Middle Eastern Jewish society ruled by European polytheists. It is influenced by both Greco-Roman ideas, Judaism.
Yes.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
That's 100% where most scholarship is now heading back, because the pendulum swung. And there is a real historical precedent in scholarship for the sensitivities that were around Judaism after post-World War II, where there was a lot of Greco-Roman research back in the early 1800s or in 1900s. Then the pendulum swung, and then it became, we can explain everything through Judaism. And then scholars start realizing, actually, you can't. There's a lot
but it is true that in the 1800s and 1900s, there were scholars trying to explain everything through polytheism, through paganism.
Yeah.
Like it was completely pagan.
And a lot of the method was not
it was just like, it sounds like this.
Yeah. It sounds similar. It's the same, you know?
Yeah.
They've gotten better over time. Season of the Rat. Thank you for the super chat. These people, deniers of Jesus as a Jew, would benefit greatly from Marcion, but they hate Marcion as much as they hate Jews. Wow. That's crazy. I don't even know if they really know Marcion. It'd be worth giving them a dose of a Christian who...
No, a lot actually.
You think
Erval is a considered himself a Marcionite. He's one of these people who like.
Oh, really?
And he was like, I'm a Marcionite. I think there was two gods in the Old Testament. One of them was the father of Jesus. The other one was like the devil or whatever. At least you think you're thinking about these things more coherently. I'll give him that, right? I don't have to agree with him. I'm not agreeing. I'm not saying I agree with him, but at least he's thinking about it more coherently. Like, be a Marcionite then. Like, do it. Like, go the full length. Be a Marcionite.
Yeah.
You just ignore John, Matthew, and Mark. Take Luke, Acts, and that's it.
And cut out a lot of Luke, Acts.
Yeah. Go find Marcion's original gospel. Take the 7 epistles of Paul and start your Christianity that way. Be a real theologian. Yeah. Don't just try to do this thing where you can just like ignore things and take things that putting square pegs in round holes.
It's wild, but from what I understand, and I don't know too much Marcion scholarship here, Marcion's not like completely everything is just no Jewish, none of this.
No.
He has a lot of that in it. So
yeah, he thinks the Jewish prophets were legit. Like, he just the way he views the Old Testament is anytime God's doing something sketchy, it can't be the real God because he's a Platonist. Yeah. So he has to have this perfect, all loving God. So he has to have two gods.
He's forced to. The Deadly Dan in the house. You have to do more of these shows. Good on both of you. Thank you,
Deadly Dan. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we want to do more of them. Bacoa. I probably messed that up. Thank you so much. Joseph was a tecton, and Jesus is a tecton and the son of a tecton. The demiurge is a cosmic tecton. Is Jesus the son of the demiurge?
Interesting. I mean, those are different words. Tecton is more of like a skilled laborer type of thing. And a demiurge is like a craftsman. They are connected, I guess. But I don't know if that makes a lot. I don't know if I can jump that far. It's interesting though. Yeah.
I think. I get that'd be like a theological interpretation at the end of the day because we do get some of that in Paul. But even that is up for grabs. That some scholars, like you said, there's some scholars who are saying that the letters of Paul we have aren't the letters that Marcion had, which were earlier than the letters we have. And in those letters, the God of Jesus is a different God than the God we find in the Hebrew scriptures. And what do you do with this? So when he says the son of the demiurge, I don't know if that computes because this God's above the demiurge in some of these kind of second century Christian.
Right.
This is
from the Gnostic, from the Valentinian perspective, I have to be more clear.
Yeah.
Because Gnostic doesn't really mean much. From the Valentinian perspective, Jesus is the son of Sophia. Who Sophia is the son of the one, the monad, is unnamed. Or daughter, or whatever. But the demiurge, who's Yaldabaoth, or Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, is one of these bastard sons who Sophia created by accident and repents about it. She repents.
It's like Pandora's box. Whoopsie.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. There also is an interesting thing about the whole tecton thing and Jesus being a carpenter. Justin Martyr mentions
that's what tecton means, carpenter.
Right. Well, it can also mean stonemason. It can mean several different things. And there's a gospel that we don't have in our New Testament that Justin Martyr's depended on, which is why I like getting into how are these second century Orthodox fathers using all these non-canonical texts for details about Jesus. Come on now. We got to get into that.
This is what I talk about in my video, First 300 Years of Christianity Was a Lie. One of the oldest Christian texts we have is the epistle of Clement, and he's citing, I think the name of the gospel is the Gospel of the Egyptians, but I might be wrong. It's one of these Gnostic texts where there's a what's it called? The bird that dies and resurrects, the phoenix.
Yeah.
Where there's a phoenix that rises up in Arabia and flies to Heliopolis, and he literally cites this text perfectly. And so, what's going on there? Like, anyways,
what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Thank you, Barbacoa. I'm saying it right. Pat 907. We are MythVision. I had to. Love you, Pat. Thank you so much for the support. We also
66 super chat of the night.
Wow, between our channels, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Gaddis Abramovics. I always butcher this. I'm sorry.
I met the latter point you made. Mostly I was thinking how multiple gods' temples in one nation historically fail when government is press. They reinvented Zeus' story and made Kronos the Old Testament god vibe.
Oh, okay.
How multiple gods' temples in one nation historically fail. Yeah, I mean, the whole Roman imperial cult was sort of designed in a way where every city, every polis kept their traditions alive. So the Romans kept the priesthood of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, and the triad, the Aventine triad for the plebs, which was Bacchus, Ceres, and Libera. And then you have the Capitoline triad. That's all Roman. It stays that way. But then you go over to the cities that they conquered. So Athens has the Eleusinian Mysteries. Samothrace has the Samothracian Mysteries. Alexandria has the Serapis stuff. Jerusalem has their stuff. Everywhere you go, and then like the Syrians still worship Elagabalus and whatever. Great Mother and Pessinus, whatever you want to do. That it seemed to work that way. It seemed to have they had the Pax Romana. There wasn't really a lot of you don't read about a lot of religious rebellions. There wasn't a lot of religious tension back then. It's weird. You find religious tension under a unified religion more than you find under these religions. But I do think the super chatter is right that they do start to rewrite some of these older Homeric classical period texts through the lens of Plato. So you start to get more of morality involved in the gods. Kronos does appear in a way like a Satan figure. He does. He is like the one Zeus has to dethrone, and he's the one that eats his children. Like he does kind of have that. But
Pretty
then again,
rough.
you do have some people talking about the golden age of Saturn. So but it depends on what text we're talking about.
And not only that, like if we go back and we're genealogically looking and seeing where the tentacles reach, Kronos and various other gods. I mean, you can go to Enlil, you can go to all these different deities that behave in a way like Kronos. I think of the Ilikumi poem, right? The Ilikumi story that goes on and describes the god there with Kumarbi and all that. Like there's all sorts of interesting overlap. But I think specifically just to address this before we let the super chat go, they reinvented Zeus's story and made Kronos the Old Testament god vibe. I think that happened based on what you just observed. The philosophy forces these older texts to look bad. Yeah. And clearly they're going, that doesn't work. Now others that's why apologetics exist, in my opinion, is they have to make excuses for these problems. And so now they're having to go, oh, well, that's not what that means. It's not slavery. It's not, whatever the list might be, for the moral issues. And it's like Marcion saw it. He didn't even beat around the bush. He saw it like maybe many of the philosophers saw their own writings and went, nope, Zeus is not good here. Sorry, that can't be Zeus. That's a false god. That's a false myth about him. Or they might have allegorized like Athanasius or someone who's like trying to say it's metaphorical. It doesn't mean what it actually says. Origen did that too. And it's funny to watch them like, yeah, he hit her in the face. No. Hit means something powerful. Face means your front perception of what you portray to people. And so, there's like, no, dude, he hit her in the face, why are you reinterpreting this ugly passage? Humans do that, What do you do? Anyway, Neil, we hit the 66. That's like a good number, I think. We should do this again. And I am starving. I would love to do these again, and we're almost 4 hours in. So anything you want to get off your chest?
Yeah. No, I think I've said a lot. I want to do more of these challenge us things. I want to do a lot of them, at least once a week if we could.
I'd love that. Vesper, I see you in the back. Look, we're at the end of the hour. I would like to do this again and then have you come on. Hopefully your audio will work. Didn't we do? We tried several times. My wife, I could smell the amazing cooking, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry, man. I really do appreciate you doing this with me, and I know Jacob Berman was going to pop on earlier to address the whole Ralph Ellis thing, and he was trying to say in the private chat at the time. I didn't see it till after. He said, hey, let me on. He said, I need to tell him Isis, Manu, never existed.
Yeah, that's true. There's no... so this is the thing that Ralph talks about in his book. He keeps calling him Isis, Manu, Isis, Manu, Isis. There's a guy named Isis, Manu. There's not a single primary source from antiquity where a guy is mentioned named Isis, Manu. In fact, Isis doesn't even exist. His name is Izates. There is a manuscript, there's a Josephus manuscript, where his name is shortened to Iza. It's just the shortened name. It's like when you see Jesus' name IHS. It's literally a manuscript tradition. The name is shortened. It doesn't even say Manu after, and there's no S. So it's Iza. So he literally uses that to go Isis Manu. It doesn't exist. You're making up a name. It doesn't even exist in history.
Yeah, and I think
You're
that's
a
what
liar.
Jacob was going to come on to try and explain. And look, I tried to turn something that could easily be negative into a positive and just point out like all that was part of my journey, to where I'm at today.
No offense. I mean this with no offense. But when I hear someone say, I love the work of Ralph Ellis is really it doesn't look... No, I'm not going to be mean.
I mean, if you say it's part of like...
It's just like, I almost kind of go, what? Are you serious? Are you serious?
I say stuff like you'll hear me say, hey, I gnawed on zeitgeist to begin with. You know what I mean? And that's my beginning. And Ralph was part of that beginning. Then you start to realize there's critical. I never read any of the critical material that people had observed. And then I started to look.
With zeitgeist, though, even though they really stretch the evidence, they're not actually lying. You can actually, if you actually trace, and what's her name? The guy that Paul Joseph didn't write that. It was what's her name again?
MD Murdoch. Yeah.
If you read her book, she uses the Addis Hilaria for one, obviously. She talks about the Osiris stuff. What she's doing is she's taking Osiris did this, he did this, and then she goes way later to Macrobius, and Macrobius says they're all the same God, and then she uses that to say they all had 12 disciples.
Solar,
so it's not, she's not as dishonest as Ralph. Ralph literally just makes shit up. So what I would say about zeitgeist, it stretches the evidence way too far, but it's not really lying. It's just stretching the evidence. Ralph lies. There's two different things there. So just want to make that clear.
I mean, there are some mistakes clearly in the zeitgeist. When you pick it apart, there are some over comparisons.
It stretches the evidence.
It
does. If it was clear about, here's the reason why I'm saying this, Macrobius makes all these the same God. Therefore, I'm putting them all in together and I'm saying they all have these. Then we would go, okay, that's kind of silly. But you're right. It is dishonest in that sense.
Yeah. Look, Neil, you been kicking ass and taking names. You've done a couple debates, and now we're doing these little call-ins. We're having fun. I hope people will subscribe who are watching from MythVision. If you enjoyed what Neil had to provide, be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. You can also harass the shit out of him on Patreon and support what he's doing. He lives 15 minutes from me. Listen, you throw me enough money, I'll run up to his house, I'll punch him in the gut, and then he can do the same thing. You want to throw him some money, he can come punch me. No. But seriously, it's been a journey. We're on a journey. We're on a path, and we're trying to figure this out,
Yeah.
Both of us recovering addicts. Well, I think we're recovered, but you know what I'm saying? We've both been down a hardcore
We both had some rough patches in our early 20s. Let's put it that way.
We have. And here we are today doing something I never thought we would do,
Last second super chat.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
You're playing.
You kept clicking on it. What is Holy Ghost? Appears 9 times in the Bible. It's the Holy. It's just another translation for the pneuma. It's the word pneuma.
Right. Now, if they're asking what the pneuma is, that also is very specific in the philosophy of Middle Platonism. And the way that it was described to me by Robin Walsh and M. David Litwa is that you'll see it's not an like invisible non-entity thing in their minds. You watch a tree bend by invisible wind. It has a force. They believe it exists. It's something real. It's not like this magical, it's non-existent. No, they think it's something physical, but it's not physical in the way of like material. It has
Heraclitus is the logos is a good way to start with that tradition where it's the active force of reason within the cosmos. So it's active. It is real. Like they don't think it's just like some Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Solara Knight. I really appreciate that support. All right, Neil, we've got to do our absolutely gangster. Did you do? Yeah, you have just attained. Let's do it.
You have just attained true gnosis.
And we are MythVision. I think we got them all right. Nobody's for chat. Okay, let's wrap things up.
Yeah, hit that outro. You got one, right?
Yep. Love you. Thanks, everybody.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.